This world, what exactly is it? Theoatrial asked with a serious expression. Agate laughed at the question. Do you want to know? A laugh that somehow felt mocking. It was as if Agate knew exactly why Theoatrial was asking such a question. Kaida. It was an unpleasant laugh that made the listener uncomfortable. An ordinary person might have flown into a rage just from hearing that laughter. But Theoatrial remained expressionless, his hollow eyes staring into the crimson light. Answer me. I know what kind of answer you're hoping for. You have expectations. You're hoping this world is something special, and through the meaning bestowed upon this world, you seek to find meaning for yourself as well. Isn't that so? Answer me. My answer is, no, it is not. If it is a place of trials for someone, doesn't that make it special? What's special is the result of the trial, not the world of the trial. Kaida. The world of trials serves only to provide a training ground for the successor to wield their fate, and at the end of their training, to grant them the ultimate authority they can wield through their fate. That is all. This world itself was created through a dream that anyone living in the head realm could have. Do you seek the specialness of this world? This world is not special. If you are not a successor, it is nothing but a meaningless virtual space. Do you understand? For a moment, Theoatrial remained expressionless and silent. Then he opened his mouth. You're trying to shake me and devour me. And then, purple vapor began to boil around him. Agate closed its mouth. You've noticed begone error. At those words, dark red light engulfed Theoatrial. Theoatrial closed their eyes and opened them again. With the beams of light came a familiar scene. New parents. At the same time, their memories began to fade. Everything that had happened before felt like a dream. They became a baby who could do nothing but eat, excrete, and cry. They had reincarnated once again. And this time, they had lost all their memories. That's how it was supposed to be. Theoatrial spoke with a solemn face. Life is a series of suffering. That's why living beings have so much they wish to forget. But I do not forget. I do not suffer because I have already become suffering itself. It distorted. It split. It divided. And then it configured itself. Just like that, configuration spread out from Theoatrial once more. The entire world was filled with configurations, and once again, the dream distorted, returning the situation to just moments before. It was the same moment when Theoatrial and Agate faced each other. Theoatrial looked at Agate. Agate looked at Theoatrial. I will not listen to your explanations. I have no interest in your deceitful words. I know that you are not the true owner of this dream. Therefore, I will devour you and awaken from this dream. I will awaken and seek my true origin. I will find my origin and discover the meaning of my existence. Theoatrial clenched their hand tightly. Squeeze. The world around Theoatrial began to distort. In response, Agate continued to calculate, trying to find a way to subdue Theoatrial. And then it realized. Even the administrator of the dream was now facing resistance from a supporting character within the dream. It could not find a way to suppress Theoatrial. This world was a dream. Not just any dream, but a dream interwoven with the dreams of countless beings. Among them, Agate's trial ground was simply the most dominant. But fragments of other beings' dreams were also scattered throughout. That was the nature of this world. For example, purple soul filling the heavens. That secret art, one of the fragments that constituted the being known as Theoatrial, was also one of the dreams mixed into this world. Of course, Theoatrial was not the central axis of purple soul filling the heavens. They were merely one fragment among thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of millions that had ended up mixed into this dream. To be precise, it was as if a single drop of the purple paint known as purple soul filling the heavens had fallen into the dark red paint called agate and mixed together. From the painter's perspective, there was no way to separate the paints. The two paints had already become one. Agate had simply, out of necessity, selected one random droplet from the mixed paints and repurposed it as a tool of the dream, reincarnating it. However, Theoatrial, despite being used as a tool of the dream, had configured themselves and replaced the entirety of this world with themselves. If Theoatrial had simply replaced the world through reincarnation according to the dream settings, it might have been manageable. but they had connected to Purple's soul, filling the heavens through their own power. Through drugs and hypnosis, Coatl had pushed themselves to the extreme within the dream and, even if only a speck, had transformed themselves anew. A being born from that era. That was Coatl. And Coatl replaced every fragment of Purple's soul, filling the heavens scattered throughout the world with themselves, becoming the central axis. Yet even as Agate continued its calculations, it could not easily understand why Coatl could oppose it. No matter how erroneous, no matter if they had become the axis of something like Purple's soul filling the heavens, Coatl was ultimately a being born within the dream overseen by Agate. It was only natural that they shouldn't be able to resist. Coatl's form began to gradually scatter. And as the scattered Coatl reassembled into configurations, Coatl approached the center of the dark red light, towards Agate, the administrator of the dream. A creation of the dream was devouring the administrator of the dream. Eventually, the two began to overlap and merge into one. It was only then that Coatl and Agate could understand each other. Coatl could discern Agate's true nature. It was not even a true being. It was merely a collection of configurations, constituted through countless numbers and letters to imitate a personality. Much like Coatl themselves. But even as a configuration, Agate was fundamentally different from Coatl's. If Coatl had made themselves into a configuration because their existence could not endure the pain, Agate had been a meaningless mass of information from the very beginning. Simply, from a distant world, Agate was the most sophisticated artificial personality ever created by the technology of the original owner of that distant world. Agate also calculated the reason for Coatl's existence. How could an error not only reach the administrator but also devour it? Especially from the perspective of a configuration similar to them, how could such a primitive and crude configuration consume something like itself? The reason for the possibility lay in the essence of the dream. Hatred. This dream world, left behind by Agate's original owner, was built upon the concept of hatred Chinese letter. And layered atop that concept was the information cluster called Agate had been overlaid as its administrator. But Coatl, born as an error, had connected themselves to the very essence of this world. Through suffering, they had connected to the essence of hatred itself. If Agate was the mycelium of a mushroom growing on a corpse, then Coatl was a kind of mutated bacterium born at the tip of that mycelium. Under normal circumstances, Agate would have been able to cut off the nutrients flowing towards Coatl and eliminate the mutation. But Coatl had already reached the corpse before Agate, seizing control of it. If it had been a living person instead of a corpse, Coatl would have long been disinfected. But this was a corpse. As such, the corpse had already been completely overtaken by the bacteria that was Coatl. Coatl had seized control of the corpse from the perspective of bacteria and raised it. Thus, Agate realized that it could not resist Coatl. It had no choice but to quietly be devoured by Coatl and become one of the components constituting them. Coatl had finally devoured the dream in which they were born. They consumed its administrator, Agate, driven solely by the madness that they might be able to find their origin. They devoured Agate, melted hatred and Purple soul filling the heavens together, and evolved them into a new immortal art. In that way, they began to awaken from the dream. It took considerable time for Coatl to completely awaken from the dream. It was the first time a being who had been asleep since birth was opening their eyes. Time was needed for their consciousness to fully surface. Yet even as Coatl brought their consciousness to the surface, they interpreted countless pieces of information and prepared to face the world beyond the dream. First, they consumed the information recorded within Agate. For example, the fact that the world they were awakening to was called the head realm, or the principles behind Agate and the workings of the trial grounds within the dream. The operating principle of the dream was as follows. While flowing among the ancient forces filling the interior of the head realm, the dream's wavelength would connect with the brain of a being who resonated with the wavelength of hatred. When that connection occurred, Agate would connect to that brain, borrow the brain's power to calculate and manifest the dream within the brain, causing that being to experience a nightmare. Within that nightmare, the living being would produce significant power of hatred before being released. Agate would then drift again through the ancient forces newly formed from that hatred, and endlessly repeat the above process, all the while waiting for the existence known as the successor. Even after devouring agate, Coatreal could not perceive information about the hash Chinese letter / ender. It seemed as though there was a restriction placed upon the very existence of the being itself. Coatreal realized that even agate only knew of their existence, but not what they truly were. It was merely set by agate's original master so that if the successor connected to agate, they would then learn of it. Coatreal also gained knowledge about the world at large. Unlike the inside of the dream, this world had existences called martial artists and cultivators. Unlike the powerless Taoists, monks, and shamans Coatreal had known, the existences beyond the dream truly possess power. Beings of the immortal family truly wielded power, demon spirits existed, and beings known as true immortals roamed the world. And Coatreal understood that their existence, by the standards of cultivators, corresponded to the sacred vessel stage. An existence born from the intertwining of purple soul filling the heavens, agate's dream, and several ancient forces, transformed into a new immortal art. That was Coatreal, a sacred vessel. By the time they realized this, Coatreal's consciousness had nearly completed its emergence. I want to find my origin. At last, Coatreal escaped from the dream and opened their eyes in the head realm. And heaven Chinese letter. Void Chinese letter. Audience Chinese letter. They found it. The origin of everything. That was the end. They committed suicide. Amidst the dark red light, a voice reached out and pulled me back. Because of that voice, I resurfaced. Coatreal. The voice called my name. Beneath a blinding wheel, I heard someone's oath Chinese letter. Bubble. Coatreal opened their eyes. The place they awakened was inside a small jar. The jar was located in an underground laboratory of the main house of the Yuan clan, that is the Black Castle. Within the jar filled with blood-red liquid, they awakened in the body of a young sea dragon race and recalled what they had just experienced. They could feel it. He had just faced something unbearable for a moment. Yet for some reason, they had endured that something, and as a backlash, their sacred vessel consciousness was completely shut down, leaving only the natural consciousness of a sea dragon race to think. I see. But before Coatreal could fully regain their consciousness again, Coatreal longed for suicide. Because they had witnessed it. Though no one had taught them, they had seen through the cause and effect relationship of everything. The truth was this. Tens of thousands of years ago, star-shattering, esteemed one from the blood yin realm fell into the head realm. In a frenzy, they rampaged, convulsed, and ultimately died within the head realm. And then, the soul of the star-shattering, esteemed one from the blood yin realm collapsed, and one of its fragments seeped into the body of a clan that managed the Shrine of Golden Divine, the founder of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. With that, the clan transformed from the bloodline of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect into a lineage, inheriting the authority of the blood yin realm. They became known as the Yuan clan, and were directly connected to the true immortal of the sun and moon heavenly domain, blood yin. And the existence known as blood yin sought to interfere with the head realm, using the Yuan clan as an intermediary. That entity descended a fragment of their split soul upon the Yuan clan. Rather than a split soul, it was closer to a mindless spirit body, but nevertheless, it was a spirit body originating from blood yin and carried their will. The spirit body delivered a revelation to the Yuan clan. That until now, they had sent their authority into the head realm several times, carrying out explorations to reclaim their former power. That the Yuan clan, too, must assist this immortal in reclaiming the former power with the authority they had sent down. After receiving that revelation, the Yuan clan conducted numerous experiments. Experiments to understand the world and connect to its unseen layers. Of course, even those conducting the experiments did not fully understand what they were doing, but they poured all their efforts into it. At times, they even used blood yin spirit body. They were even given the power to manipulate purple soul filling the heavens according to their will, one of the authorities blood yin had long sent down. To be precise, Blood Yin could not directly control his authority and spirit body within the head realm, so he delegated that authority to the descendants of the star-shattering, esteemed one of the Blood Yin realm that had somehow taken root in the head realm, the Yuan clan. With the authority granted by Blood Yin, the Yuan clan obtained power that surpassed even the Black Ghost Valley and the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, even if it was only temporarily. They grinded the world itself to conduct experiments to fulfill Blood Yin's command. They kidnapped countless humans and demons for their experiments, as well as disciples from the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect and the Black Ghost Valley. And among the demon race, they captured many of the Sea Dragon race, who could act as vessels for Purple Soul filling the heavens, and struggled to find Blood Yin's former authority said to exist in the head realm. Among the Yuan clan's experiments was the body of a young Sea Dragon race, infused with Blood Yin's spirit body. That Sea Dragon race's brain, influenced by Blood Yin's spirit body, coincidentally connected to the dream of agate flowing deep within the head realm. That was the origin of Coatrial's world. Coatrial's homeland. Coatrial's everything. Coatrial's connections, and Coatrial's childhood happiness. All of it was merely a fleeting spring dream, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, within the brain of a baby Sea Dragon race, a product of the Yuan clan's experiments. No, it was nothing more than a fleeting nightmare. It was just as Agate had said. They were not born from the dream of some special existence. No, they weren't even born from the dream of an ordinary mortal. Inside the brain of a wretched test subject, mid accidental interactions, they were merely a fragment of Purple Soul filling the heavens that had malfunctioned. An existence utterly lowly and insignificant. That was Coatrial. A failed experiment, completely removed from its original purpose. A life that had never been blessed by anyone from the moment of its birth. The mistaken belief that they had once been blessed was merely part of a dream unfolding in the brain of a test subject. A meaningless existence. That was what Coatrial was. The moment they realized this, Coatrial's heart completely shattered. It could be said that the faint hope they had clung to even within the dream had been crushed. They genuinely longed for suicide. If they had been born without meaning, it was only right to disappear without meaning. Having lost all purpose in life, Coatrial yearned for death. Thus, the dream devil who was born in a dream devoured every connection in the dream, consumed even the dream's administrator, and emerged outside the dream, Coatrial, resolved to return once more to nothingness and destroy their entire being. Thus, Coatrial began to collapse themselves. They tried to collapse. No. Bubbling, 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 bubbling. Coatrial opened their eyes as they inhabited the flesh of the Sea Dragon race amidst the blood-red liquid. Coatrial's immortal art. Their configuration began seizing control of Blood Yin's spirit body fragment, embedded within the Sea Dragon race. At the same time, as their consciousness gradually became clearer, they remembered the voice. The heaven they had seen as they awoke from the dream. Coatrial had gazed upon the truth. Beyond that heaven and believed they had understood all the cause and effect relationship of their birth stemming from Blood Yin. However, at the very moment they had comprehended that cause and effect relationship and resolved to commit suicide by being absorbed into the truth. There was a voice. Coatrial. It was a voice more powerful than anything in the world. The owner of that voice had called Coatrial's name. They recalled the owner of the voice they had heard beneath the wheel. Coatrial's eyes snapped open. No, they had not been born without meaning. Someone undoubtedly knew the meaning of Coatrial. Coatrial was certain. That someone was their true origin. The moment they realized that fact, Coatrial temporarily set aside their suicidal intent. Instead, they formed a goal. They swore to dedicate every moment of their life to achieving that goal. I vow. Coatrial recalled it all. Their entire life, where they had mistakenly believed they were happy, where they had mistakenly thought themselves blessed, but in truth had never been blessed even once. The pain of having their entire existence denied. The hatred from the pain so excruciating that they had to shatter their own soul and reassemble it into a configuration. I will make the one who burst me hear every pain I endured in life. Coatrial moved the face of the Sea Dragon race within the blood-red liquid. The eyes of the young Sea Dragon tribe curved like crescent moons. the being who had granted them life, after conveying their painful life. After delivering all that pain, hatred, resentment, and malice, even if it was merely in the form of a story, they would allow themselves to be absorbed into the one who birthed them to influence them. That became Coatrial's wish. Coatrial laughed. Ho ho! Just as agate had been wrapped in light. Coatrial wrapped their pain in laughter. So that one day, when their story reached the one who birthed them, they could listen to Coatrial's pain without suspicion, while expecting happiness. They altered the structure of the immortal art that made up their being. From a simple configuration of hatred, they built their essence centered around the emotion they had learned in their first life. They divided their memories among countless personalities of pain, so that though their core might remain pure, once the memories were linked, the pain and hatred would inevitably resurface, even if they had to delay reaching their origin in their purest form. It was set up so that in the end, their true nature would be revealed. Coatrial recalled the truth they had seen in the heaven. It was wisdom of all things. Indeed, within the head realm, something about wisdom of all things was hidden. It was a truth known only to beings at the star-shattering stage or higher, who risked their lives to observe the interior of the head realm, regardless of their cultivation stage. As it was described in Buddhism, a library that contains all the wisdom of the world and bestows wisdom upon all beings. Akashic records, Chinese letter / void record. Someone had hidden the Akashic records deep within the head realm. Coatrial's plan was formed that day. Someday, no matter what it took, they would awaken the Akashic records deep within the head realm. Through the Akashic records, they would find their origin. And, through the Akashic records, they would deliver their story to the being of their origin. That was Coatrial's true purpose. I understand everything. Why did Ran feel a sense of kinship with Yuk-Yo? At the same time, why did he feel an uncontrollable jealousy and hatred towards her? Why couldn't he bear to see her happy in the dream of Pingla Island? It was because compared to the high-ranking world of Pingla Island, where it is impossible to discern reality from illusion, Ran was born in a clear illusion. And why must Ran, the purest aspect of Coatrial, remain within the head realm? It is so he would be the first to enter the Akashic records hidden with the head realm, and through the Akashic records, be delivered to someone, in the cleanest state, and spread Coatrial's poison from the deepest part of that someone. You said your goal is to reunite with your family. I opened my eyes within Coatrial's memories and let out a bitter smile. A reunion with family. A reunion with one's origin. He wasn't referring to Ran. He genuinely desires that. It isn't about revenge for his birth. It is simply because he found a purpose in a life stained entirely with falsehood and hatred. Is merely pursuing a value built entirely upon lies and hatred. That is Coatrial. But my suffering is no less than yours. I follow Coatrial with sorrowful eyes. Your suffering is, in some ways, similar to mine. Of course, while parts of our suffering may overlap, they are undeniably different. However, even so, because there are overlapping parts, I dare to say this. What you need is someone who understands you. Originally, my plan was to liberate my dear friend Yonwei and her beloved, Hunwan, from the great mountain supreme deity and secure my own safety in the future. But, having learned of Coatrial's past, his purpose and his means, I decide to advance my plan. Chijijijik. I reveal something I had hidden, slightly earlier than originally planned. Ignite the light, torch of myriad forms and connections. Huarurururuk. A transparent flame, burning deep within glass cedarwood mountain, flares up with such brilliance that it illuminates the entirety of cedarwood painting. At the same time, my canvas of myriad forms and connections scattered across the universe reveals itself. A plan I was so deeply immersed in that I committed the painful act of temporarily forgetting some of my connections, including Su-In and Hong-Yon. The true reason I insisted on advancing to entering nirvana through the Earth Tribe pathway that symbolizes history. The unique authority of immortal beasts, capable of opposing the fate prophecies of heavenly immortals. History revision. This, achieved through borrowing the power of the end through the phenomena-extinguishing mantra, is my true plan. The history where Su-In and Hong-Yon died. The history where Hunwan and Yon Wei met a tragic end. The history where the world faced the end, due the phenomena extinguishing mantra, and was completely annihilated. Even the history where Co Ran was sacrificed in Cohrial's plan, and Cohrial turned into a blue earthworm. All of them exist within me. Weiyang. The wheel possessing the power of rewriting rises behind my back. This time I will rewrite all those fates. Though it is a little early, I begin to unfold this grand comedy against the sun and moon heavenly domain. Translator notes, the void Chinese letter, here is the void, koha'ong, inus in void shattering. The void and heavenly venerable of void and interdimensional void is kogongha inus, which leans more towards emptiness hollow as an emotional and mental state. It's pretty late to change the term, so just keep it in mind going forward. I quickly trace the remaining memories of Cohrial. After awakening from sleep, reaffirming his oath that pierces through his identity, and establishing his goal, he gradually seized control of the Yuan clan from his state as an experimental subject. Without even using tainted soul filling the heavens much, he captivated the people of the Yuan clan with his unique eloquence and charm, collapsing the clan solely through schemes and strategies. Afterward, he branded the direct blood descendants of the Yuan clan with the mark of slavery, making them the first sacrifices of tainted soul filling the heavens in the real world. Having destroyed the Yuan clan, Cohrial embarked on a long and arduous journey, striving to get even slightly closer to the identity of the voice that awakened him in Agate's dream. He returned to the base of the sea dragon race while wearing the body of one of them. Gradually mastering tainted soul filling the heavens, he eventually succeeded in ascending to the throne of the Sea Dragon King. However, his identity is not inherently tied to the Sea Dragon race. After all, he was originally a character in a dream in the form of a human. In fact, reflecting upon the hazy yet happy memories of his childhood, he is neither male nor female. Yet he deliberately maintained the form of a sea dragon male, focusing his efforts on controlling the sea dragon race. The first reason for wearing the guise of the sea dragon race is simple. The body he first possessed upon awakening was that of a sea dragon male. Thus, Cohrial considers this sea dragon male identity to be connected in some way to the mysterious owner of the voice. No, even if he is entirely mistaken, maintaining this form would still provide an advantage when attempting to reach the owner of the voice, by eliminating potential unknown variables. The second reason lies in his essence. Having devoured agate, consumed purple soul filling the heavens, and directly observed the Akashic records hidden within the head realm, Cohrial had drawn in and merged several hidden powers and authorities of the head realm into his configuration. The power born from the collected ancient forces of the head realm became tainted soul filling the heavens. Ultimately, tainted soul filling the heavens was created by absorbing and rearranging the ancient forces of the head realm, with purple soul filling the heavens as the central axis and merging them with agate's authority. The most suitable medium for purple soul filling the heavens at present is the bloodline of the sea dragon race. Cohrial read the split soul of Blood Yin he dominated, gaining insight into ancient records and fragments of Blood Yin's memories. Thus, Cohrial learned of the lineage of purple soul filling the heavens, which flows through Blood Yin, Hyun Eum, and Ya Eum. In order to overturn that lineage and gradually reverse dominate Ya Eum, Hyun Eum, and Blood Yin, he requires the body of the sea dragon race. These two main reasons, along with numerous other intertwining factors, solidified Cohrial's identity as a sea dragon male with a gentle smile. Having seized control of the sea dragon race, Cohrial hunted down the escaped fugitives of the Yuan clan, gradually becoming more proficient in the operation of tainted soul filling the heavens. Eventually, the position once held by the Yuan clan was claimed by the Zhou clan amidst countless power struggles, and Cohrial began to extend his influence into the Zhou clan as well, finding their origins peculiar. He schemed and sowed chaos across the world, spreading tainted soul filling the heavens far and wide, manipulating all civilizations and societies of the head realm. As the entire world gradually filled with Cohrial's, he delved deeper into researching the head realm itself, uncovering the various powers intertwined within it. One prominent example was the Black Castle, the former home of the Yuan clan. By studying the underground laboratory beneath the Black Castle, he discovered that it was connected to the lightning sacred sea. At the same time, Cohrial read ancient records related to Ascension Path and through the techniques engraved upon Ascension Path, learned what is sealed at the center of the Sky Island. Simultaneously, he investigated the origins of the Zhou clan, and to experiment with Yin and Yon, found within Blood Yin's split soul, he manipulated the connection between Zhou Yon and Ha Yun. Of course, in that process, something even Cohrial could not have anticipated. His lifelong greatest adversary, the Mad Lord, was born. Nevertheless, Cohrial witnessed the destruction of the Zhou clan and traced back the flow of their life and death, the origin of their attraction force. Through this, he came to learn of something far more significant than the destruction of the Zhou clan or the birth of his greatest adversary. He discovered where the Zhou clan originally came from. Serving Command Palace. The Zhou clan was nothing more than a lineage of mortals who lived within Serving Command Palace under the orders of cultivators, managing spiritual medicine on their behalf. At some point, while living in the depths of Serving Command Palace, the emergence of something called the Extraordinary Pattern Law Talent led them to leave Serving Command Palace and form the Zhou clan. Cohrial began investigating Serving Command Palace and gained a certain amount of understanding about the existence known as Extraordinary Pattern Law Talent. Afterward, while being pursued by the Mad Lord, he managed to enter Serving Command Palace. At the center of Serving Command Palace, after discovering an immortal treasure called the Serving Command Seal, he realized who exists within the Serving Command Seal. The Mad Lord, observing the structure of the Serving Command Palace and the immortal treasure Serving Command Seal, gained inspiration about the relationship between the world's attraction force, fate, and the method to summon history. The Mad Lord began laying the foundation for the Yon's plan, while Cohrial discovered a critical clue about the head realm. The fragment of a true immortal's dream, discovered within the Serving Command Seal. Through it, Cohrial obtained the clue that the head realm is actually alive. Although he had seen the Akashic records, he only understood the origin of his birth and could not uncover the various truths he was unaware of. Therefore, this realization terrified Cohrial. He thought he had escaped from the dream. But what if this world they live in is the inside of someone's living head? If so, then what difference is there between this entire world and the dream world? After learning this truth, Cohrial became even more ruthless, abandoning all hesitation in his methods and means. As he infiltrated the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, the records of the existence known as the Golden Divine Yang Sujin, which he discovered there, gradually solidified his conviction. Golden Divine realized that the beings of the head realm are nothing more than entities confined within a dream, and even coined the term non-human. Non-human. Yes, everything in the head realm is non-human. They are nothing but supporting characters in a dream, like Cohrial. Therefore, Cohrial became even more ruthless. Everyone in this world is a supporting character in a dream. They are just characters in a dream. Playthings of true immortals, born only to be mocked and toyed with. Yes, they are. Nothing more than pieces on a stage. For this reason, Cohrial resolved to become even more ruthless and even more meticulous. He had to focus on his role. Even those infected by tainted soul, filling the heavens, had to maintain their roles. Although he infected the entire head realm with tainted soul filling the heavens, he left everyone's personalities intact, allowing them to live according to the roles suitable for their lives. Because the true immortals must not notice anything strange. Because the head realm must not detect the anomaly known as Cohrial and erase him. At the same time, to explore the identity of the head realm as naturally as possible, Cohrial created the Sea Dragon race astronomers. He did not birth many of them. The astronomers created by Cohrial numbered around 3. His direct descendants, Seo Yun and Seo Hyun, a father and son, and Jian Hyung. If there were too many astronomers, they might glimpse the truth of the head realm and witness something so dangerous that it could shake tainted soul filling the heavens. Cohrial, having created only as many astronomers as he could control, diluted the tainted soul filling the heavens within them as much as possible before allowing them to observe the head realm. Cohrial also revealed to them vague truths about the celestial phenomena of the head realm. One of the memories from the split soul of Blood Yin, the truth that the sun and moon of the head realm are actually eyes. By simply informing them in a roundabout way that the sun and moon are fixed, he hoped they would yield results more quickly. However, during astronomical observation, Seo Yun, Seo Hwial's descendant and Seo Hyun's father, had his very personality sucked into the sky. If the concentration of tainted soul filling the heavens had been higher, Seo Hwial himself might have been sucked in as well. Shuddering at the terror of the head realm, Seo Hwial transferred his main body into Seo Yun, whose soul had been entirely pulled from his body, and passed on the position of Sea Dragon King Seo Hwial to Seo Yun. In any case, since the original soul had already been completely removed, transferring his main body was relatively easy. From the beginning, the first Sea Dragon race body he had obtained belonged to an experimental subject from the Yuan clan, and thus did not have a long lifespan. Seo Hwial's very first body was nearing the end of its life. Seo Hwial modified his original main body and turned it into a building for the Sea Dragon astronomers. He then floated the initial body above the southernmost sky of the head realm, allowing the remaining astronomers to more easily observe celestial phenomena while also laying the foundation for his plans. The remaining Sea Dragon astronomers were only Seo Hyun and Jian Hyun. Fearful of his soul being ripped away in the head realm, Seo Hwial diluted the concentration of tainted soul, filling the heavens within them as much as possible. But perhaps because of that, Seo Hyun began to slip out of Seo Hwial's control. Suddenly, he started saying he wanted to quit the dull life of an astronomer and become a Sea Dragon warrior instead. Tainted soul filling the heavens was so diluted that it barely had any effect, and perhaps because Seo Hwial's body originally belonged to Seo Hyun's father, Seo Hyun frequently ignored Seo Hwial's words. After all, Seo Hyun was Seo Yun's only child, and he seemed to believe that Seo Hwial would not dare to threaten his soul heir too severely. To drive Seo Hyun back to the comfortable life of an astronomer through the fear of death, Seo Hwial sent him to the front lines of conflict and war stirred by the Sea Dragon race. He sent him to the battlefield against Black Ghost Valley. In any case, most of those in Black Ghost Valley were also Seo Hwial's, so they would not actually kill Seo Hyun. Seo Hwial planned to manipulate them carefully, driving Seo Hyun to the brink of death, utterly crushing his dreams, and plunging him into miserable despair before dragging him back to his role as an astronomer. At first, the plan seemed to proceed smoothly, as if carried by fair winds. However, the problem arose with the birth of a being named Yu-O in the head realm. Seo Hwial immediately realized that Yu-O was a fragment of a split soul of the Nether Ghost Realm Sacred Master. Because the vast majority of those who ascended to the upper realm from the head realm already carried tainted soul filling the heavens after Seo Hwial opened his eyes. Every ascendant from the head realm was practically a carrier after the blooming of tainted soul filling the heavens. He had already sent numerous clones to ascend to the upper realm. It was only natural for him to have identified Yu-O. Thus, Seo Hwial decided to erode Yu-O. Yu-O is not just an ordinary sacred master. Baek Woon comes from a true person background. Ya-Im is the split soul of Blood Yin's split soul. Ban-Ta and Hei Lin can be said to be typical examples of the sacred vessel stage, but Yu-O is a fragment of the reincarnation Judge Nether Ghost True Lord Yu Su-Ryeon. The reincarnation judge is said to know the secret of resurrection. Because she is the fragment of such an entity, the sooner he could obtain her, the more momentum Seo Hwial's plan would gain. Although Seo Hyun, like Jian Hyun, carried only a faint concentration of tainted soul filling the heavens, Seo Hwial still began to have Seo Hyun interact with Yu-O. Lest Yu-O, who is of the same sacred vessel stage, sensed the aura of tainted soul filling the heavens, Seo Hwial deliberately used Seo Hyun, who carried only a faint trace of it, to make contact with her. It began when Yu-O was still young. From that time, Seo Hwial consistently facilitated contact between Seo Hyun and Yu-O, attempting to erode Yu-O through Seo Hyun with tainted soul filling the heavens. That's where the problem arose. At first, tainted soul filling the heavens began to gradually seep into Yu-O, but at some point, specifically after Yu-O came of age, Yu-O, who continued making contact with Seo Hyun, stopped being affected by tainted soul filling the heavens. Instead, Seo Hyun, who already had a faint concentration of tainted soul filling the heavens, started ignoring Seo Hwial's orders. At that time, Seo Hwial suspected Yu-O. He speculated that she had used some unknown immortal art to pull Seo Hyun away from his grasp. Eventually, a child was conceived between Yu-O and Seo-hyun. Seo-hyun grew extremely wary of Yu-O, focusing all his attention on her attitude. He believed that Yu-O intended to wield some dreadful immortal art through her child with Seo-hyun. This is because, after conceiving the child, for some reason, there were individuals around Yu-O who began to break free from the influence of tainted soul filling the heavens. Seo-hyun could no longer leave Yu-O unchecked. Thus, he made the big decision and resolved to erode Yu-O with the power of the main body, the heart of the main body, and the accompanying oath of hatred. The pain created by the fusion of these two was something even Yu-O would not be able to endure. Seo-hyun trapped Seo-hyun and Yu-O in a scheme that led them to their deaths. Seo-hyun was executed by decapitation at Seo-hyun's hands on charges of treason, and Yu-O felt immense pain and guilt because of it. Seo-hyun took advantage of that vulnerability and secretly sent himself into Yu-O's fetus. In this way, Yu-O lost her child to Seo-hyun. What entered in its place was Seo-hyun, masquerading as Yu-O's child, intending to erode her directly from within her body with his power. Then, the real problem began from there. The connection with the main body became distorted. The main body containing the heart began to break down. Instead of receiving the rightful name Seo-hyun, it took the name Seo-ran and began to act independently. Seo-hyun realized it. Between the main body and himself, an impurity named Seo-ran had wedged itself. And before Seo-hyun could even begin to erode Yu-O, Yu-O gave all her life force to Seo-ran, grew weaker and weaker, and eventually died. Seo-hyun brought the Seo-ran left behind by Yu-O to the Sea Dragon Palace and searched for a way to repair his broken main body. In the end, the only way to repair the main body was to destroy the impurity, that is Seo-ran, that existed between it and himself, resetting Seo-ran's personality by forcing him to commit suicide. That was Seo-hyun's plan. Another problem emerged here. Ji-hyun, who had thus far obeyed Seo-hyun's orders relatively well, finally lost her mind while observing the celestial phenomena of the head realm. At some point, she began spreading insane words like, "The sea dragon race's astronomers are disappearing one by one." This was even though after Seo-hyun left, she had been the only remaining astronomer of the sea dragon race. It seemed that, in exchange for seeking the celestial phenomena of the head realm, madness had taken root in her mind. That madness was reminiscent of the Mad Lord, making it very unpleasant, but Seo-hyun did not kill her directly but instead let her be. After she became consumed by the madness that, there are many astronomers of the sea dragon race, but their numbers are decreasing because of Seo-hyun. For some reason, her achievements began to skyrocket insanely. The head realm may have given her madness, but it seemed to have also bestowed some kind of special ability upon her. Though she was mad, she accomplished achievements that would require multiple people working together, entirely on her own. And within a few years, she brilliantly proved several facts and hypotheses about the head realm that Seo-hyun had been wanting. The structure of the head realm, the flow of the head realm's power, the fact that the head realm is asleep, and the phenomena that would occur when the head realm awakes from its slumber. Ji-hyun proved all those hypotheses and deductions, and even revealed secrets about the head realm that Seo-hyun himself was unaware of. She delivered not only everything Seo-hyun desired, but even more. However, at that point, Seo-hyun began to sense danger from Ji-hyun. Her madness was gradually worsening, starting from the nonsensical delusion that the astronomers of the sea dragon race are decreasing one by one. Each time one of these imagined astronomers disappeared, in her delusions, her madness grew stronger and more entrenched. The moment that madness reached its peak was precisely when she was under the delusion that she was all alone. Fortunately, Ji-hyun often stayed with Seo-ran, which greatly reduced the frequency of her thinking she is all alone. However, the very act of keeping such a lunatic by Seo-ran's side was an immense gamble for Seo-hyun. Thus, Seo-hyun decided to separate the dangerous monster, Ji-hyun, from Seo-ran as quickly as possible. Seo-hyun sent Seo-ran to a distant corner of the Sea Dragon Palace as if exiling him. Afterward, he planned to kill Ji-hyun, whose madness was increasingly resembling that of the Mad Lord. And so, on the day of the mass ascension, Seo-hyun finally succeeded in ambushing and killing Ji-hyun, who seemed on the verge of transforming into a second Mad Lord. Then, after burning and crushing her remains, which had already begun turning into strange stone, he found the traces of her madness that she had hidden away. He discovered her diary and implanted tainted soul, filling the heavens there, ensuring it could affect Seo Ran in case of an emergency. Having resolved all these issues, as Seo Atrial meticulously crafted his future plans without leaving room for a single error within the deepest depths of tainted soul filling the heavens, he headed for Ascension Path. This is the past of Seo Atrial that I have seen until now. Only now can I seem to understand you. I engrave Seo Atrial's memories into my heart. This is his past. The life of Seo Atrial, who was born as a worthless supporting character in a meaningless dream, and spent his entire life striving to prove his worth. Through Seo Atrial's memories, through the suffering, Chinese letter, contained within those memories, I can feel the Seo Atrial currently fleeing away. He is wailing like an evil spirit, pouring out dreadful resentment towards the already vanished Seo Ran. At this very moment, the mysterious smile that wrapped Seo Atrial is stripped away. Everything about him, in the end, has been recorded in my canvas of myriad forms and connections. Only today, at last, have I torn away all the mysterious veils that shrouded Seo Atrial. Finally, woven, the candle flame of the torch of myriad forms and connections blazes even more fiercely. The canvas of myriad forms and connections, scattered across the universe, reveals itself more clearly. The starting point of the immortal art I have attained. My innate true method, crystal glass to treading sea, is something I imbued my entire life into. Within my life, everything I have learned, everything I have experienced, mastered, and observed, all of it, has been melted down, refined, and forged into this innate true method. That is crystal glass to treading sea. Crystal glass to treading sea possesses a total of 9 abilities and forms. Why crystal glass to treading sea was refined into 9 forms within my heart is something even I am not entirely certain of. However, the only assumption I have is the name Guju, Chinese letter. 9 Chinese letter, kinds of categories Chinese letter. 9 ups and downs. I don't know who first told me the term 9 categories, nor can I recall its exact meaning. The only thing I can remember is that perhaps 9 categories symbolizes the suffering inherent to life. Guju. I wonder if the unknown events of that 16th cycle may have influenced crystal glass to treading sea to be refined into 9 forms. First form, twin flowers, Chinese letter. Second form, sword sea, Chinese letter. Third form, heavenly shatter, Chinese letter. Fourth form, avasai, Chinese letter. Fifth form, mysterious bazaar, Chinese letter. Sixth form, wind painting, Chinese letter. Seventh form, ghost face killing heaven, Chinese letter. Eighth form, myriad forms and connections, Chinese letter. The suffixes such as reaching the heavens, star body, furnace, and torch are just other ways of saying combat form. The true names of these 9 categories forms, Chinese letter, are as they are. And today, I have completed the final form of crystal glass to treading sea. The form that had remained incomplete until now. The final form forged with extinguishing, divine, tribulating heavens and tainted soul, filling the heavens as its raw materials. Crystal glass to treading sea. 9th form. Filling the heavens governing view, Chinese letter. Translator notes, filling the heavens governing view is called menchanatam, inus, which is probably wordplay on kochangchudatam, inus, which is from the idiom Chinese letter that means blue comes from indigo, but is better than indigo, figuratively meaning that the student surpasses the master. Somewhere in the distant astral realm, fleeing from Seo Yunhaian's relentless pursuit, Seo Atrial smooths his previously twisted expression that was distorted like an evil spirit back into an expressionless face, and firmly grips Han Wan and Yon Wei on both sides. Within them, he begins to seize the souls of In and Yon. Even if it's agonizing, there's nothing that can be done right now. Seo Atrial begins to open the eye he has regained. Bulge. Eyeballs begin to sprout all over his body. A dark red aura engulfs him, and eyes emerge not only on Coatrial's arms, legs, and body, but also across his face and even on his clothes, covering him entirely. Jug, 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 jug. What must be done now is to use the authority of the vast cold heavenly Lord, which I seized in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and push my original plan forward in one decisive sweep. Wei Yang. The attraction force between Hun 1 and Yon Wei begins to grow stronger. But they cannot reach each other. Coatrial's eye distorts their attraction force, transmitting it across the Coatrials scattered throughout the universe and twisting its direction. As a result, while the attraction force grows stronger, the misaligned direction prevents them from meeting, causing the force to grow endlessly without resolution. The Coatrials scattered throughout the sun and moon heavenly domain relay the attraction force of Yin and Yon, gradually guiding its direction astray. Gradually, the attraction force grows stronger. This attraction force originates from the vast cold heavenly Lord, once known as the strongest heavenly Lord. When the attraction force of the universe reaches its peak, the universe meets the end. Wu Wuang. The end of the universe, which has been advancing little by little under the phenomena extinguishing mantra, begins to accelerate rapidly. Immortal cultivation is progress. The will of someone reverberates across the entire universe, and the sun and moon heavenly domain begins to progress rapidly towards the end. Empowered by the attraction force of the end, the countless Coatrials scattered across the sun and moon heavenly domain begin to laugh in unison. Ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho, jug 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 jug. The Coatrials simultaneously place their hands behind their backs, look up at the sky, and laugh. It's a shame I couldn't obtain blood yin, but there's no choice. I'll have to gamble. Bulge, 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 bulge. And then, countless eyeballs burst forth from the bodies of Coatrials. It's a chilling, dark red gleam. Tainted soul filling the heavens. Wei Yang. Immediately after, the sun and moon heavenly domain begins to be dyed a dark red. Complete release. Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Coatrial recalls one of the truths about the head realm he learned through Jianhyang. When the sun and moon heavenly domain meets the end. At the moment of the end, the place where everything compresses is the head realm. Although the place of restart lies somewhere far away in the interdimensional void. Still, at the conclusion of the universe, everything is inevitably drawn toward the head realm. Therefore, the occurrence of the end ultimately means everything can be absorbed into the head realm. The yin and yon of vast cold exchanges an increasingly intense and strong attraction force and accelerates the end. Coatrial recalls the legend of the vast cold heavenly Lord. The vast cold heavenly Lord, who is said to have altered the conditions for the end of an entire heavenly domain. The most respected and beloved friend in the memory of blood yin split soul, yet also the most terrifying existence. Perhaps it is because such a being's power resides within the spirit bodies. When it comes to the end, it seems to react even faster than Seo Yunhyan's phenomena extinguishing mantra. Such an ominous thing must be why blood yin hurriedly sealed it away in the true devil realm. Regardless, precisely because it is the head realm. If Coatrial accelerates the end of the world with attraction force, it will be solely Coatrial's feat. Through that achievement, Coatrial plans to dye the entire sun and moon heavenly domain with tainted soul filling the heavens, even if only for a fleeting moment. And the head realm, having absorbed the world stained with tainted soul filling the heavens, will ultimately consume all of Coatrial's tainted soul filling the heavens and will complete Coatrial's plan. Coatrial will finally meet the truth he desires. Just when the attraction force of yin and yon, held tightly in Coatrial's grasp, reaches its peak, Coatrial suddenly hears something echoing in his ears. Kidju kiduk. It's agate. The existence that, after being swallowed by his tainted soul filling the heavens, remains in the deepest depths within it, serving only as his computational mechanism. That agate now laughs hysterically as if driven mad. I've been deceived too. This is the strength of your adversary, Coatrial. That is what has been contaminating you all this time. And then, Coatrial sees it, the sight of something beginning to fill the entire universe. No, a faint hazy mist that has already been filling the entire universe. And Coatrial sees it. The gazes, visible within that mist. Countless silhouettes seem to flicker within the mist. And those silhouettes, like starlight, pierce through the mist and meet Coatrial's gaze. The eyeballs of Coatrial's tainted soul filling the heavens and the gazes beyond the mist collide. Coatrial shudders unconsciously. Only now does he understand. Only after witnessing it with his own eyes can he understand. From the very beginning. The countless eyeballs of Coatrial scattered across the entire sun and moon heavenly domain lose their dark red light before the hundreds of billions of gazes shining through the pale mist. From those gazes, Coatrial feels a strangely familiar sensation. That's definitely the truth that I was loved, that alone will never disappear. So my heart, too, will never disappear. Yes, those gazes somehow resemble the gaze of Black Square at that final moment. It will not disappear. Even if it vanishes right before the eyes, somewhere deep within the heart, it will definitely remain. Coatrial somehow feels as if such a will is being conveyed from those gazes. At the same time, the pale white light begins to overwhelm the dark red light. Was bound by a leash. Whether Coatrial seizes Ran or not. From the very beginning, unless he escapes the sun and moon heavenly domain, he cannot escape from him. Finally, a voice as solemn as that of a god reverberates throughout the entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Filling the heavens governing view, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Kagagugu. Coatrial understands. At some point, he entrusted himself to a gamble, acted arrogantly, and naturally threw himself into hollow hope. Agate calculated while observing such a Coatrial and informed him that he is mad. Coatrial ignored Agate's words. Because he had no reason to go mad. Because he had no reason to be contaminated. Madness or contamination only occurs due to related causality. Nothing happens without a reason. And within the knowledge and logic Coatrial possessed, there existed no causality by which he could go mad or be contaminated. Thus, he one-sidedly dismissed Agate's words. However, facing the origin of his contamination, Coatrial must now admit it. He has become contaminated. He has become mad. From the very beginning. Yes, precisely from the moment he first laid eyes on Seo Yunhaian's canvas of myriad forms and connections. Complete release, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. The final form of Seo Yunhaian's crystal glass to treading C9 categories form, which has been subtly contaminating Coatrial since long before, spreads across the sun and moon heavenly domain, and finally begins to reveal its full power. Just when did you start to mistake tainted soul filling the heavens as being above the canvas of myriad forms and connections? A life of failure upon failure upon failure upon failure upon failure upon failure. My life is one where I have repeatedly experienced failure. My soul is a mountain built upon failure. And my failures are not just tools for repentant enlightenment. Can't the canvas of myriad forms and connections be used to attack an opponent? The result of such research, repentant enlightenment and training is this secret art that has only been completed today. Filling the heavens governing view. However, even before its completion, it has already been scattering across the entire universe, slowly. So slowly that even Coatrial himself didn't realize it, and it has been eating away at him. If Coatrial's tainted soul filling the heavens is an immortal art that brainwashes the entire world into becoming himself, taking over every role, and turning himself into the favorable protagonist, mine is the opposite. I fill the heavens by exposing my failures, causing others to be unconsciously influenced by my experiences of failure. By watching my life filled only with failures, they unknowingly learn from it. And naturally, the first thing someone influenced by this immortal art learns is my own failure. Coatrial unknowingly learned and used the failures deeply stacked within my history. I did not create a path for myself to become the protagonist. What I created is a secret art that turns everyone in the world into failures. A secret art that makes everyone a failure, and amidst failure and despair, enables them to understand the world anew. That is filling the heavens governing view, now finally completed today. After fully blooming, filling the heavens governing view. I rise from my seat as I watch Coatrial fleeing with Oh Hai Seo, Hun Wan, and Yon Wei. Wo Wung. In the next moment, I split apart. The me sitting down, and the me rising from my seat. The me who rises looks back at me and speaks. I'll protect them and come back. I smile and reply. Go and show them. Nod. The me who nods puts strength into the legs and briefly closes the eyes. Kugaguguk. As a martial artist, the power of heaven and earth begins to concentrate on my legs. The heaven and earth spiritual energy from all of cedarwood painting gathers and surges into my legs. Payet. For an instant, my lower body seems to turn translucent, and countless muscles in my lower body become visible to the naked eye. Each muscle burns fiercely, filled entirely with heaven and earth spiritual energy. And at the moment when the spiritual energy concentrated in my legs reaches its peak, I unfold the body movement technique that has accompanied me for hundreds of thousands of years. Record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts, severing mountain swordsmanship, dragon vein chi method, and other martial arts have evolved across the ages, integrating with earth tribe methods, merging within the three great ultimates, and have repeatedly transformed, transcending upon transcending. But this one fact has never changed. Remaining unchanged, this martial art of mine refined with utmost dedication and passion to master the foundation. The foundation of a martial artist is the lower body. The foundation I have forged over hundreds of thousands of years now roars with might as it unleashes the fruits of all those efforts. Not the ground-shrinking technique that uses attraction force, nor teleportation arts, nor dimensional leaps. This is purely a body movement technique achieved through martial arts. Mountain Lords transcending peaks flight. Kurururu. As a martial artist, I begin to leap thousands of light years in a single step. As a heaven tribe, I stop myself from reaching out my arm to grab Cohreal. Cohreal begins to flee even faster, but I do not lose him. Cohreal uses every possible secret art to distance himself from me, yet the more he struggles, the narrower the gap between us becomes. Kurururu. As my body rapidly displaces the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the universe, it generates waves of spiritual energy that sounds like the roar of a tiger. The Mountain Lord Chinese letter surpasses great peaks Chinese letter and begins to soar Chinese letter. Let its momentum fill the heavens Chinese letter. A colossal tiger crosses the horizon of countless starlights, relentlessly pursuing Cohreal. Finally, I leap across the long years and arrive behind Cohreal. Cohreal turns around, startled. He must be surprised. He must be wondering how I could catch up to him so quickly, when even the power of a heaven tribe's sacred master could not. I kindly forgo explanations, keeping my mouth shut, and instead prepare my ultimate technique to strike Cohreal. The Mountain Lord merely reigns silently, spreading its will. Those who fear the master of the mountain do not even attempt to flee. They simply freeze in place as the distance closes on its own. For the past 5,000 years. No, ever since the 15th cycle when Cohreal began to properly toy with me. To punish a being like Cohreal whose heart has rotted away, I have studied and researched tirelessly for this single move. Inside cedarwood painting, to the cedarwood mountain etched inside the mandala. To cedarwood grove, where I have stood alongside countless others of the heart tribe. To the innumerable cedars that have supported me for millennia. I stretch my arm with a mighty roar. Severing mountain swordsmanship, Chinese letter. 35th move, Chinese letter. Cedarwood, Chinese letter. Bowing. Though it is swordsmanship, what is unleashed is a single fist. No, since the sword has long become one with my soul, it doesn't matter whether it is a fist or a sword. It is merely that its visible form takes the shape of a fist. And my fist slams directly into Cohreal's face. Palek. The sound of flesh colliding with flesh. That simple yet lively sound reverberates and spreads across the airless cosmic space as a heart essence. Immediately after, across the entire universe, every face of Cohreal infected by tainted soul filling the heavens is thrown back as if they were struck in the same way by me. And, for the first time, Cohreal's genuine scream bursts forth before me. Translator notes, Mountain Lord's transcending peaks flight was previously translated as Mountain Lord's soaring flight. Cohreal's flustered appearance makes me smile faintly. Pag. Once again, my fist strikes Coatrial's nose bridge. Pag pagic pagigigic. Then I begin pummeled Coatrial once more. Th this what is? The words he had been speaking through mental speech are now uttered aloud. Coatrial tries to melt into the darkness to escape, but I headbutt him right in the face. Quang! A dull ringing fills my skull. A look of shock blooms across Coatrial's face. He reverts from his shadowy form back into his original appearance. Seeing this, I grin. That's a good look. He is no longer the emotionless Coatrial from before. Now, after dissolving Ran, he has completely regained his heart. Previously, I had only barely managed to provoke a reaction from him by eroding his empty heart with filling the heavens' governing view, but this time, it's different. This time, he's truly flustered. Seeing the genuine bewilderment on Coatrial's face makes me feel strangely satisfied. How should I put this? Yes, it's pure. The pure, genuine face of this guy is making me smile. Payak. My fist smashes into Coatrial's jaw again. His face seems to cave in for a moment before he hurtles towards a nearby planet. Payet. I chase after him in an instant and grab his head as I slam him down onto the planet's surface. Quaying. In the next moment, Coatrial is glaring up at me with dark red eyes. How did you do it? What do you mean? Are you asking me to lecture you on our theories and techniques, even though you're neither a martial artist nor a warrior? I too. Coatrial looks up at me with dark red eyes and a hardened expression from beneath my foot. Understand the principles of the Heart Tribe's techniques. Hadilhasa. I let out a hearty laugh. The plane of soul, that uncertain, indeterminate dimension between the plane of chi and the plane of fate, projecting your ideology and thoughts into that uncertainty and fixing it in the direction you desire. That technique and the beings capable of wielding such a technique. That is what the Heart Tribe is it not? Emil. From what I hear, it seems he doesn't understand anything from our perspective, but he has his own insights. I nod in acknowledgement. For now, let's say that's true. Then what don't you understand? That you're weak. That's not it. What I'm curious about is. Coatrial looks up at me with confused eyes. I smile bitterly at that gaze and remove my foot from his chest. Why your attacks hurt? I smile softly. Isn't it obvious, Coatrial? Life forms originally get hurt when hit. I understand what he's trying to say. Don't speak bullshit. Coatrial's face contorts. It must be some secret art of yours, because you've seen my memories, because that bastard exposed all my truths to you. Did you not cast some secret art on me based on what you saw from my past? Unfortunately, I'm not using any special secret art on you. I look down at the contorted Coatrial with a peaceful smile. As expected, you're curious, regarding just how it is that you're able to feel pain, I mean. Isn't that right, self-proclaimed incarnation of pain, Coatrial? The reason for his confusion is obvious. He's bewildered by the very fact that he is feeling pain. At a glance, it might sound like utter nonsense to anyone overhearing. But having seen Coatrial's memories, I immediately understand the reason for his confusion. Because he became pain itself. He became tainted soul filling the heavens precisely to avoid suffering, and yet he's feeling pain. It must be bewildering. Until now, Coatrial has never felt pain. Even in the 15th cycle, when he was forced to drink a potion that multiplied pain 60,000 times, he revealed the essence of tainted soul filling the heavens and overcame it in an instant. Of course, there were moments when Coatrial appeared to feel pain. For example, when hearing the true names of true immortals or governing immortals, or when failing to withstand the rank of an entity too far above his level. But even in those moments, he didn't truly experience pain. He merely received a shock. Shock is nothing more than a powerful stimulus. And pain and stimuli are fundamentally different things. Making himself into a configuration and becoming tainted soul filling the heavens is Coatrial. For someone like him, it's only natural to be unable to feel pain. Whether he gained Ran, his main body, or his heart, it's still the same. Even if he's reclaimed his soul, a being arranged into such a configuration shouldn't be capable of feeling pain. Can letters feel pain? Can drawings feel pain? Can this mass of configurations, whose personality has been fragmented into information and configured, feel pain? It might feel shock, but it cannot feel pain. And yet, I clench my fist and continue pummeling Coatriol. My punches gradually become lighter and faster. And at some point, as expected, I see it. A certain illusion begins to form before my eyes. It is a mandala, one of the named realms of the owner of void. The form of the mandala that I've seen every day on the reverse side of cedarwood painting. But this isn't the mandala depicting the life of the golden monster. This is a mandala depicting the life of Coatriol. A mandala is completed through emptiness, Chinese letter, just as the life of a being is concluded through death. A mandala can also be described as an art meant to teach that there is nothing at the end of that life. The one who draws a mandala ultimately scatters their mandala at the end, realizing impermanence. However, this happens only when the mandala is completed, and then scattered to gain enlightenment on emptiness. In other words, completing a mandala means first drawing the most splendid mandala one can create. Payak. Once again, my fist strikes Coatriol's solar plexus. The sight of Coatriol's face contorting into a kaleidoscope of expressions, unlike anything seen before, is quite an amusing spectacle. But at the same time, my eyes see another scene. Within the mandala named Coatriol, sections bearing the name Seo Yunhyan are being added. No, it isn't just Seo Yunhyan. Everything Seo Yunhyan experienced throughout his life. The countless lives of the Heart tribe perceived in Cedar Wood Grove. Not just the Heart tribe, but the Earth tribe, the Heaven tribe, and the lives of humans as well. With every single strike, those lives are being added one by one. The 33rd move of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship is named after Mount Sumeru. And starting from there, the moves named after Mount Kunlun, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, and Cedarwood Mountain, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Among these moves, Sumeru and Kunlun are, in a sense, techniques that can only be completed with the assistance of Heaven and Earth tribe methods. In other words, they are not purely martial arts in nature. However, Cedarwood is different. This is the essence of my martial arts. No, to be precise, the quintessence of my life's martial path. The principle of Cedarwood is as follows. Based on the memories of endlessly observing the mandala in cedarwood painting, I meticulously draw my life. And through the canvas of myriad forms and connections that records my life, I meld everyone within the canvas into my life's mandala. At a glance, it might seem as if I'm receiving assistance from Heaven tribe methods, but this process is not all that important. It can even be substituted with mere recollections of the past. The more important part comes next. Manifestation. In the 15th cycle, just as I had dragged projections of the past through Yon's play and struck Coatriol with all the entering heavens of those at entering heavens, and above that I had encountered so far, I dissolved my all-heaven sword to its utmost limit into the void, Chinese letter, manifesting within my body all the entering heavens I have encountered in my life. In short, this can be described as me manifesting Yon's play with my willpower alone. In other words, countless entering heavens reside within my body at this very moment. Yelling. Gradually, my fist begins to move faster. Dujajujudo. Sparks begin to fly from my body. The pure white flames, surpassing simple heaven and earth spiritual energy or the aftermath of techniques, are the purification of my willpower. Coatriol, continuously pummeled without respite, is savoring pain for the first time in a truly long while. Just like with the subheart sword, this move of cedarwood engraves me into the opponent's heart essence. And going beyond that, it engraves all the manifestations I've encountered within my life. This isn't merely reflecting myself into the opponent's heart essence like the subheart sword does. This is truly, albeit temporarily, bestowing those manifestations upon them. In other words, if Coatriol understands martial arts even slightly, he can now fight me on equal footing. Because what I'm doing now is bestowing upon him hundreds, thousands of extremes of martial arts. Cedarwood is ultimately to recall the lives of others and all the martial arts in my life, unfolding Yon's play limited to martial arts solely through my willpower. And through such a Yon's play, to embody into reality the manifestations I have seen or the hearts with the potential to reach manifestation. By doing so, after bestowing even a portion of the embodied extremes of martial arts upon the opponent, fighting them honorably on equal footing. This is the ultimate martial technique I have refined to face people like Coh, whose heart has been shattered. Cedarwood, as a formless ultimate technique, is not particularly restricted by movements or forms. This is the same reason I'm not wielding a sword. I am not confronting an enemy. I am merely wielding my heart towards Coh, and thus, something like a sword is unnecessary. Coh tries to counterattack me, but covered in pure white flames, I burn as I unleash an unending barrage of attacks towards him. Amidst the pure white flames, countless figures of others overlap. The entering heavens of Jayubik, the entering heavens of Uhwa, of Baek Yom, of Kim Young-hoon, of Hong Fan, of the Mad Lord, of Kim Yon, of Ryo Hwa, of Jeong Chang, of Jang Ik. The silhouettes of all the Heart Tribe. They reside in every single one of my punches, driving Coh back. The cultivation of the heaven and earth tribes emphasizes breadth. They gradually expand and stretch themselves outward, becoming an ocean. In contrast, the cultivation of the heart tribe seeks depth. They become wells, endlessly digging downward until they reach the extreme. That's why the power of the heaven and earth tribes approach omnipotence as they grow. However, conversely, the power of the heart tribe becomes capable of only one thing as they grow. Of course, they can still use that one thing to display a variety of techniques, like Jang Ik. But the essence of the heart tribe is depth. However, what happens if the heart tribe gathers together? When the ocean meets the well will inevitably lose. The difference in sheer mass is overwhelmingly one-sided. But what if the wells gather together? If the wells cluster and mix in one place, and they expand their breadth purely as wells, what then? Wulong. Starting with Jeong Chang, Ryo Hwa, Jang Ik, Uhwa, and others, the entering heavens of Kim Yon, Kim Young-hoon, Hong Fan, and the Mad Lord all mix together. Their powers overlap within me, approaching an omnipotent power not at all inferior to that of the heaven and earth tribes. This omnipotence is even stronger than the immortal cultivation and immortal arts of the heaven and earth tribes. Because when wells gather in one place enough to fill the entire earth, it naturally becomes a deep sea, Chinese letter. Countless manifestations overlap, and Coh's tainted soul filling the heavens is suffering unprecedented damage. The entirety of tainted soul filling the heavens is shaken by the auspicious exchange of emotional expression, is unable to dodge because of the surpassing radiant saber, cannot escape as the heart is bound by the heart of love, and is being maddeningly shaken by collapsing immortals annihilating heavens. Coh is gradually crumbling. Of course, there is still the possibility that he can fight against me. Cedarwood, after all, is about bestowing the ultimate will I have realized onto my opponent. However, regardless of whether he understands martial arts or not, he cannot accept my manifestations. Because these are not simple manifestations, they are hearts. If it's someone who has accepted and understood the hearts of others, it might be a different story. But for an existence that has closed their eyes and ears, turned themselves into a configuration, deliberately closed their eyes from pain, and escaped from it for thousands of years, they will never be able to accept these hearts. Quaying. A pure white fist strikes Coh's face once again. At the same time, as I imbue my manifestation into the mandala of Coh, enriching it further, I experience the sensation of seeing myself reflected in Coh's mandala for a brief moment. In that moment, I understand. Mandala, Chinese letter. Jang Ik calls it the second step before the throne, while Kim Young-hoon and I share the name void shattering for this realm. Today, I have finally reached the pinnacle of void shattering. Hwararuruk. The more I use the ultimate technique of cedarwood, the more my body seems to transform into white flames. Coh is flung far away. The countless Cohs scattered across the world follow suit. Overwhelmed by the power of cedarwood, the overlapping of countless manifestations, they all collapse. I slowly approach Coh. Coh staggers and barely manages to lift his upper body. His face is drenched in blood. I see. I should stop trying to understand. It's better to treat you as nothing more than a natural disaster. Coh spits blood and glares at me. Then, pulling at the muscles of his face, he forces a smile. But haven't you forgotten something? At Coh's words, I look around. Come to think of it, Han Wan and Yon Wei, and Oh Hai Seo and others have at some point disappeared from sight. You snuck them away, is that it? I couldn't stop you, but you won't be able to stop me either. Did you forget that my canvas of myriad forms and connections has spread across the entire universe? That only means your focus is that much scattered, and there are that many gaps. Escaping through one of those gaps isn't that difficult. Coatrial smiled as he speaks. If you had combined all of your powers of the heaven and earth tribes and even drawn upon the power of cedarwood painting, I definitely wouldn't have been able to escape. But you are foolish, and this is the result. I merely used one of my countless selves as bait to tie down your feet. Indeed, as you said, I am foolish. Coatrial is right. Right now, I cannot immediately chase after Hunwan, Yonwei, Ohaisio, and the others who have escaped. Furthermore, the canvas of myriad forms and connections is merely a projection of my history, not my consciousness domain, so it doesn't have any sensing functionality. Of course, it might gain such a feature if it develops further, but for now, it's impossible. Thus, even though Coatrial is in front of me, it's no different from him being able to escape at any time. I've lived my entire life foolishly. I am not an imbecile. I am a fool. A dullard with no wit, a clueless stupid retard who only cares about eating. That is the Seo Yun Hyan before your eyes. But, even so, I've survived. Bearing the weight of life, I've stubbornly climbed my way here. And because I climbed here as a dullard, I possess strengths that others do not. Wu Weng. The world begins to distort. It seems it's finally complete. Coatrial's pupils tremble. He must know what this distortion signifies. Among the me's temporarily split is heaven, earth, and heart, the part of the earth. The me of the earth pathway has successfully completed the entering nirvana advancement. I knew I would fail from the beginning, because I am foolish, slow-witted, and steeped in failure, so I have no choice but to always prepare for failure. Kagagugu. I, borrowing the power of the end, twist the predetermined fate. The me's of the heaven and earth tribes in cedarwood painting overlap, and their voices engulf the entire sun and moon heavenly domain. The universe begins to distort. I've failed countless times, so it's only natural that preparing and bracing for failure has become second nature, isn't it? At the same time, through the phenomena extinguishing mantra and the attraction force of yin and yang in Coatrial's grasp, the endlessly contracting sun and moon heavenly domain begins to rapidly contract. The universe begins to heat up. This is a fight of a fool. In the next moment, Coatrial and I lock eyes, then quickly begin moving towards our respective goals. Wu Weng. I attempting to twist fate through history revision. And Coatrial trying to move the world to reach the Akashic records. The powers we individually possess. The phenomena extinguishing mantra and the attraction force of yin and yang begin to collide with ferocity. Chapter 531, Filling the Heavens Chinese letter 5. Ohaisio is flying towards a certain place under Coatrial's arrangement. Coatrial has completely drawn Seo Yun Hyan's attention, buying time for her to escape. At the same time, through the final arrangement prepared for her, Ohaisio, Hunwan, and Yon Wei are being transferred to a faraway place. That place, Ohaisio's spirit body. The eyes of that spirit body shine. The place she is heading to is familiar. At the beginning of Seo Yun Hyan's 999th cycle, it is the main body of Hyun Eum Chinese letter that was crushed by toying with blood yin. It is the last remaining place among the countless constellations. Flying quickly towards the star named Lofty Dragon Star, Chinese letter, Ohaisio's eyes gleam. I can feel it, over there, my reserve body for resurrection is waiting. It is the place where her second body, cultivated from her extracted blood, resides. Wowung. Lofty Dragon Star gradually grows closer. Seeing the royal palace Coatrial built on Lofty Dragon Star, Ohaisio's face brightens. It is a palace Coatrial built specifically for her. From deep within it, a familiar energy is felt. Ohaisio stares blankly at someone walking out from inside the palace. One of the contingency plans Seo Yun Hyan prepared in case he failed to capture Coatrial and Ohaisio, and to rescue Yon Wei and Hunwan. It is Seo Hai who has taken over Ohaisio's original body and is walking out holding the severed head of the reserve body Ohaisio had been awaiting. Seo Hai smiles up at her, in a manner very similar to Ohaisio. "Hello, main body, do you remember me? I want to become me." Crunch. Crushing the head of the reserve body she is holding, Siohai smiles brightly. "Of course it'd be difficult, but it's okay. Over thousands of years, I searched the entire universe, combing through every corner to find where your reserve body was hidden. I thought it would be impossible, but look, didn't do it." Siohai spreads her arms wide with a wicked smile. "So I will take on the challenge too, to become the real one. No matter how impossible it seems, I will defeat you." Ohaisio looks at Siohai and sneers. "You don't know your place." Siohai looks up at Ohaisio and smiles faintly. "I will kill you and take over you who's the main body, and with your authority, I will revive the perished Black. With a determined expression, Siohai stands before Ohaisio. "Because I was loved by him, because I gained independence from his love for me. Before, I couldn't properly convey my heart to Black Square because I was being controlled by you. But this time, I will eliminate you both and properly convey my heart to Black. In the next moment, Siohai lunges at Ohaisio. Chwararak. A red blood robe wraps around her. A black mask covers Siohai's face, and all sorts of bizarre things pour out from her storage scroll. The first to emerge are 4 pagoda Dharma treasures. The Dharma treasure pagodas position themselves in the 4 directions of Siohai, forming a barrier. Next, 49 scrolls appear. Chwararak. The 49 scrolls unfurl in formation behind Siohai. Inside the scrolls, countless demon souls of demon beasts are refined, and as the demon souls escape from the scrolls, they begin to merge into one. Squirm, squirm. Before long, a monster formed from the combined demon souls of countless demon beasts emerges in front of Siohai. The monster, emanating an aura at the integration stage, looks down at Ohaisio and lets out a roar. That is not the end. From the palace Sioatrial built for Ohaisio, countless blood corpses, made from the carcasses of the sea dragon race, begin to crawl out. These are not ordinary blood corpses. Circuits glowing with an ominous light are shining on their bodies. From Siohai's shadow, a cloud of blood begins to billow out and transforms into a massive ghost king wielding a scythe. From the center of all these ghostly creatures, Siohai's crimson eyes flash. Chwararak. A blood-red leaf fan appears in her hand. Summon the stellar winds. Wind path blood fan, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Kagagagugu. A storm of blood begins to whirl around lofty dragon star. Ohaisio glares at Siohai and sneers coldly. The ghost king and demon souls come from Black Ghost Valley. The blood corpses were refined using Kim Yon's technique after hunting the sea dragon race on lofty dragon star, and that leaf fan along with the method to wield it. It seems to be a method that blatantly borrows Seo Yunhyan's power. Ohaisio laughs mockingly at Siohai. "You've willingly made yourself Seo Yunhyan's slave. Ahaha, aren't you afraid of what that monster wearing a human mask will demand from you in return?" "A monster wearing a human mask, you say?" At those words, Siohai's crimson eyes flare as she speaks. "Isn't that actually referring to you, main body?" With those words, the two collide. The monster formed from countless demon souls charges at Ohaisio. The Ghost King, formed by condensing the blood cloud, drains the dragon vein on lofty dragon star while swinging its scythe behind Ohaisio. Each of the blood corpses, all at least at the grand perfection 4-axis stage, rush toward Ohaisio in unison. And Ohaisio, wearing a chilling smile, summons the forms of countless immortal beasts. Kagagagugu. The light of the immortal beast glass peacock engulfs the demon souls. The demon souls writhe in agony, losing their reason and beginning to scatter. The form of the immortal beast Yin Ghost Black Turtle appears. The Ghost King, upon seeing the Yin Ghost Black Turtle, seems entranced and stares blankly at it before being devoured by the Yin Ghost Black Turtle's form. The form of the immortal beast mountain-destroying demon ape descends from the sky and smashes into the earth of lofty dragon star. Quang. The entire dragon vein of lofty dragon star trembles, and the blood core collapses. Then, the wing beats of the immortal beast azure rock sweeps away the blood wind of the wind path blood fan. I command, in the name of the immortal beast lofty dragon. Kagagagugu. Behind Ohaisio, the colossal form of a dragon appears. Lofty dragon star begins to resonate. "Foul thing, How dare you, a mere split soul, covet the main body? The branch shall obediently be reabsorbed by the mainstream. Kururung. Seohai begins to resist. Countless blood path methods, ghost path methods, and curse methods are unleashed as she pours all her strength into resisting Ohaisio. But gradually, her soul begins to waver. As a split soul of Ohaisio, Seohai struggles to resist her. And finally, Chwararuruk. Ohaisio's body at last reclaims her former physical body. Within Ohaisio's heart essence, in that place that resembles a barren wasteland, Seohai and Ohaisio stand facing each other. Ahaha, is this the end? Ohaisio sneers at Seohai, reaching out her arm towards her. Gradually, Seohai begins to transform into particles of light and is absorbed by Ohaisio. However, Seohai instead smiles faintly, as if this was her intention from the start. Do you know, main body, you're such a pitiful person. Ahaha, what? I was born loved by Black Square and born from you. But what about you? You've never received anything like that, not even once. Isn't that right? You've been abandoned since birth, and you'll probably never receive love in the future either. But I did, even if it was just once. So, even if I die today, I can die with a smile. Ohaisio cannot understand Seohai. All she knows is her primal survival instinct, and the emotion beyond that is so faint that she cannot empathize. However, at Seohai's words, Ohaisio somehow feels unpleasant. She dislikes what Seohai is saying. It's irritating. Therefore, Ohaisio absorbs Seohai even faster. As Seohai is absorbed into Ohaisio, she smiles meaningfully. You must have chosen this as well, right? Ho ho, I'll follow you. Someday we will meet again. It's a cryptic statement, but in any case, the victor is Ohaisio, and the loser is Seohai. After completely subduing Seohai in the heart essence world, she opens her eyes in his main body. Ahaha, finally, I've finally returned to my original body. Now all that's left is. It's then. Ohaisio feels chills running across her entire body. This is. Ohaisio is one who draws upon authority by retracing history. Because of this, she can understand better than anyone present just what is happening in this universe right now. Feeling chills run over her body, Ohaisio looks up towards the sky in the direction of cedarwood painting. Seo Yunhyan, that monstrous bastard, just what in the world are you doing? Seo Yunhyan's history revision is beginning to twist fate. I've been thinking, since long ago until now, why must mortals suffer under fate? In cases like Yonwei and Hunwan, why on earth did they have to endure such pain? Therefore, I want to save them from fate. Fears me, lies often, is vicious, never says anything right, is exhausting because of her paranoia, and yet isn't even particularly helpful in battle as who Yonwei is. But, despite all that, she is our comrade. Therefore, for my dear Yonwei, and for the living beings who can't ascend to the middle realms and will die because of the end, I devised a plan. When the end approaches, I will borrow the power of the end with the phenomena extinguishing mantra to twist the power of fate with the power of history. I aim to twist the calamity of fate placed upon Yonwei and Hunwan, save the two of them, and prepare for the day I will face Great Mountain and crush the Great Mountain calamity. Hwi laughed mockingly. She said the plan is nearly impossible, and someone like me meddling with history is essentially impossible. And so, I decided to use the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Crystal glass to treading sea. 9 categories form. The 9th form, filling the heavens governing view. When I showed Hwi filling the heavens governing view and explained its effects, she obediently hung herself upside down. Filling the heavens governing view is a form created by melting tainted soul, filling the heavens together with the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. Guak Am said this. To escape the fate of the universe's destruction, one must find a sacrifice equivalent to the universe itself to ward off the misfortune. Of course, they also said it would be difficult to find a sacrifice matching the universe. However, for those I wish to save, there exists a sacrifice that fits perfectly. Let's go, Kim Yon. Kim Yon nods and activates the wonderfully mysterious fortress. Click, 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 click. Along with that, Yon's play activates. On top of Yon's play, I manifest the heart of love using cedarwood. And then, The remnant shadow of the sun and moon heavenly domain, which had been destroyed in a previous life by the great mountain supreme deity, rises and is manifested through Yon's play. The fate of Hun Wan and Yon Wei, who had died miserably in the past life, is manifested through Yon's play. The fate of Su In and Hong Yon, who had died like discarded trash, is once again manifested. Additionally, the fates of everyone else I sought to save begin to manifest again today. Filling the heavens governing view is a form that turns the entire world into a failure like myself and delivers enlightenment. At the same time, it gathers countless past fates into one end. It manifests misfortune, forcing one to endure the same pain from that time, and then twists the fate of reality. That is what filling the heavens governing view is. Dujijujido, the yin and yang within Coatrial's grasp. The phenomena extinguishing mantra that I possess. The culmination of these two attraction forces resonates, accelerating the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Through filling the heavens governing view, I begin to gather the canvas of myriad forms and connections that has spread across the entire world. Amid the hazy mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections, painful memories from the past resurface. At the same time, those pains are manifested by Yon's play, forming an artificial misfortune. Through the misfortune thus created, I begin to perform the ritual of the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. The hazy mist compresses into dark clouds and begins to cover the sky. The first to be shrouded are Hun Wan and Yon Wei. Filling the heavens governing view, and Yon's play manifests the two people who had died painfully in the previous cycle. Simultaneously, I begin to turn the wheel. I rewrite the power of the phenomena extinguishing mantra, the power borrowed through the Sumeru sword dance, and the power of the Earth tribe pathways entering Nirvana stage are combined. I interfere with history, and through the wheel I rewrite. O attraction force of great mountain, thy attraction force is thus fulfilled. Kirurururung. By my proclamation, the fate in which Hun Wan and Yon Wei die miserably is now considered already fulfilled. But at the same time, Hun Wan and Yon Wei do not die. Thus, Great Mountain has no reason to rampage. Patsizda. In front of my eyes, I see a constellation in a distant place. That constellation is bound by an ominous attraction force, and that attraction force is also connected to Hun Wan. Begone, O misfortune of Hun Wan. At my resounding cry, the stars of the constellation connected to Hun Wan from the distant world begin to explode all at once. Kwayang. The prophecy of the great mountain supreme deity has been fulfilled, yet not fulfilled. Unable to withstand that contradiction, their prophecy explodes as is. At the same time, I feel a chilling, ominous gaze sweeping over me. It must be Gwakam's gaze. However, I withstand their gaze firmly and continue my consciousness. Next are Su In and Hong Yon. They are the children sacrificed by me. Just then I sense from Coatrial, who is confronting the heart tribe me, beginning to properly unleash his strength. Desperately, he operates tainted soul filling the heavens for his goal. Jiog 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 jiog. Every Coatrial in the universe begins to laugh simultaneously and starts to consume themselves. Weiyang. At the same time, the brainwashing waves of the consumed Coatrials, empowered by the attraction force of the end, begin heading towards the head realm. Although, unlike Seo Yunhaian's 998th cycle, he was unable to brainwash everything in the sun and moon heavenly domain, including the blood yin. Coatrial trusts in the attraction force of vast cold and pours everything he has into the head realm. Martial artist Seo Yunhaian remains before him, glaring at Coatrial who is overseeing his plan. As the end draws near, the attraction force of vast cold surrounding Coatrial grows so powerful it feels like an entirely different dimension, to the point martial artist Seo Yunhaian can no longer interfere. However, Seo Yunhaian does not appear tense, as if he still has a move left. He simply sits there, observing Coatrial's actions. Coatrial appears like a conductor. It's as if he rules over all the stars of the universe, pouring his everything solely into the head realm. And finally, all of Coatrial's brainwashing waves eventually reach the head realm. Weiying. Flash. Ascension path. Following Coatrial's command, the brainwashing waves tear apart the ascension gate and pour directly into the head realm. Seo Yunhaian's gaze, also focuses on the head realm from the outside. The form of the head realm resembles a decaying, tattered skull of someone long dead. Chunks of flesh are stuck haphazardly on the skull, making it difficult to see inside, and it seems as though a pair of overturned eyeballs are staring inward. The neural networks of the two eyeballs grotesquely flow down outside the skull. That is the form of the head realm. And the brainwashing waves driven into the ascension gate become embedded into the Beihui point of the head realm. Seo Yunhyan understands why Seo Atrial had taken control of the powerful cities or regions within the head realm that uses immortal treasures. Ascension Gate, Beihui Point, Black Castle. The brainwashing waves, drawn by the attraction force of Yang Sujin's steel at the Ascension Gate, amplify significantly due to that attraction force and descend beneath Ascension Path, embedding themselves into the Black Castle. Once again, the brainwashing waves amplify. Black Castle, the center of the upper dantian, the pituitary gland. Serving Command Palace. Simultaneously, under Seo Atrial's will, the Serving Command Palace reveals itself in the head realm. Serving Command Palace begins operating at maximum output, quickly moving from the northern end of the head realm. Seo Atrial's brainwashing waves are embedded in the Serving Command Seal at the center of Serving Command Palace. Once again, Seo Atrial's brainwashing waves amplify. And the Serving Command Palace, carrying Seo Atrial's brainwashing waves, begins moving across the head realm. It seems to be rotating around the head realm once. Serving Command Palace, the circulation within the upper dantian. Then the Sea Dragon Palace would be the forehead, isn't that right? A spell that enters through the Beihui point, circles through the upper dantian, and exits through the forehead. A method that clears the mind. Spell Seo Atrial has planned since a long time ago to awaken the head realm. It is a spell Seo Yunhyan had seen across the head realm, and also experienced firsthand under Seo Atrial. This simple yet powerful mind-clearing spell begins activating within the head realm. Seo Atrial remains silent. He seems to be manipulating the brainwashing waves with a once-in-a-lifetime focus. And the heart tribe Seo Yunhyan begins to disappear from Seo Atrial's sight. He is returning to his main body. After all, with filling the heavens governing view activated and history revision already underway, there is nothing more he can achieve through martial arts. He beat up Seo Atrial as much as he desired. And he has already completed planting within him everything that is needed. There is no longer any need for him to remain here. Martial artist Seo Yunhyan looks back at Seo Atrial and smiles. I will return soon. Let us meet again, Seo Ran. Chapter 532, Filling the Heavens Chinese letter 6. Ohai Seo understands that the history of the entire world is being twisted, and that Seo Yunhyan has severed something, entangled with Hun Wan and Yon Wei. And in that moment, she feels an overwhelming killing intent engulf her. Shiver. This is the place she looks at in shock. There Hun Wan is standing. Kyuduk Kyujujuduk. Hun Wan clenches and unclenches his fist, as if confirming something. Seeing this, Ohai Seo realizes that her instincts are sounding a fierce alarm. However, she doesn't show it outwardly, and raises several immortal beast forms around her. At the grand perfection integration stage, with her sights already set on the star-shattering stage, she smirks. Grand Cultivator Hun, what are you doing? Grand Cultivator is a hostage, so you should quietly. In the next moment, Kwajujuduk. Hun Wan's fist is suddenly right in front of her, striking her head directly. Kwayang. Ohai Seo screams in agony, as if her integrated Dao domain is being torn apart, and she is sent flying several zhang away. With an expression close to panic, she stares at Hun Wan. I was defending myself using the power of the Yin Ghost Black Turtle, and yet, the form of an immortal beast. The form of the immortal beast Yin Ghost Black Turtle that is specialized in defense at that was shattered in one strike, and I was sent flying. Hun Wan cracks his knuckles as he speaks. I thought you were just some mongrel bitch, but this is unexpected. I intended to kill you with that blow, yet you endured it. Ohai Seo, feeling a strong instinctive warning, opens her mouth. You've regained your cultivation. Would it just be that? Hun Wan sneers. Kagagugugu. Forgotten memories, twisted spiritual veins, the pride of the Pinglai Palace Lord, I've reclaimed them all. However, despite having regained everything, he does not look happy. Instead, Hun grits his teeth and sheds tears of blood. It's so miserable that I can't even speak. Ohisio's eyeballs dart around. If I lose him, Coatrial's plan will fall apart. Because the soul inside him needs to create attraction force. If I lose him and Coatrial fails, then Seo Yunhyan will come to devour me again, right? No, I can't endure being trapped in something as horrifying as Seo Yunhyan's stomach again. Ohisio grinds her teeth and raises several immortal beast forms around her. Enough with the bothersome words, and just obediently become a captive. The wing beats of the white-winged heavenly Pegasus engulf all phenomena in flames. The royal palace Coatrial built on the lofty dragon star begins to burn, and flames ignite on Hunwon's body as well. This is the fire of an immortal beast. Now then, let's. At that moment, Hunwon takes a stance. At the same time, the prison of yin-yang and 5 elements envelops Ohisio. Good devil energy surges in both of Hunwon's hands. Yelling. And no. Ohisio feels an intense threat of death and realizes she must escape the prison of yin-yang and 5 elements as quickly as possible. Wu-Wang. A Teiji symbol begins to spin around Ohisio. However, despite the Teiji's rotation, the prison of yin-yang and 5 elements created by Hunwon does not break. Not just the 5 elements, but even yin and yang itself. She immediately understands the cause of this phenomenon. Resonance, Hunwon's method is resonating with the entire universe. Why, this is. Seo Yunhyan's phenomena extinguishing mantra is currently being unfolded on a universal scale. That mantra is resonating with Hunwon's great mountain-splitting emperor technique, elevating Hunwon's power to his peak state. Great mountain, Chinese letter. Kagagagugu. Ohisio's body begins to assimilate with the yin-yang and 5 elements. With a sensation of her mind going blank, she pushes the power of the immortal beasts to their utmost with all her strength. Splitting emperor, Chinese letter. Countless forms of immortal beasts rise to protect her. However, with a sinking feeling in her chest, she realizes the truth about Hunwon's attack. This attack is at the quasi-star shattering stage. She cannot block it. In the next moment, every immortal beast form surrounding her is shredded apart. Ohisio's body is torn into 7 pieces, and her integrated Tao domain is violently ripped apart as she is hurled deep into the underground depths of the lofty dragon star, unconscious. Hunwon, having rendered Ohisio unconscious, slowly turns around. Splurred. Blood gushes from his mouth. Damn it! The single strike just now cost him all his cultivation, and every drop of his true origin vital energy. Hunwon, too, is now on the verge of death. For someone who still has a significant amount of lifespan left, an observer might call him insane. But Hunwon doesn't care and steps into the burning palace of the sea dragon race. There lies Yon Wei's body, thrown aside by the aftermath of the battle between Ohisio and Hunwon. Is it perhaps because it's the body used as a vessel to contain the attraction force of vast cold? Yon Wei's soul has already been drawn by that attraction force to the golden divine heavenly thunder sects shrine and placed into the body crafted by Seo Yunhyan. Hunwon slowly approaches Yon Wei and embraces her. Weiya, what is this, Hunwon? Yon Wei slowly looks up at Hunwon and speaks. Have I also gone senile? At those words, Hunwon gently strokes Yon Wei's black and white hair. Huarururu. The royal palace of Coatrial, engulfed in the flames of an immortal beast, begins to collapse. Burning debris from the building falls above Hunwon. However, Hunwon neither uses spells to block it nor heals his body. Instead, he simply endures the collapsing building with his body, while focusing all his efforts on extending Yon Wei's fleeting lifespan by even a few more seconds, using the immortal art sunshine of the immortal art various omens. The one who went senile was I. You trash bastard. Yon Wei spits out venomous words. You are trash, so vile and rotten that it was impossible to feel satisfied with you. Yon Wei glares at Hunwon and unleashes a torrent of curses. When I heard I was to enter into a political marriage with you, I felt so nauseated that I even considered suicide. It was an engagement devoid of emotion, made solely for the safety of my golden divine heavenly thunder sect. When I betrayed you, I thought it actually turned out great. The sense of liberation was so overwhelming I felt like I could fly. Rather than marrying an idiot and ugly man like you, I preferred to bring in brighter and more handsome children to have relations with. My descendant, Yeonjin, is one of the offspring from such men. Do you remember when I plucked your eye out last time? Your eye, I boiled it into a tonic and drank it. It wasn't even tasty. Why are you still here? Get lost, you retard. What if I die here? Will you turn my corpse into some kind of pill? I'm going to die here today as well, Wei-ya. Hanwon smiles warmly as he continues to embrace Yeonwei. I detonated my true origin vital energy and crushed the subordinate woman of the bastard who captured us. I too, after tonight, will die from the extinction of my true origin. As if someone who can resurrect. All the life force and soul force I have for resurrection are being spent on the immortal art to extend your lifespan. Once I die, likely not even a leftover will remain. What kind of insane nonsense are you spewing? Why are you doing such a thing? Someone like you can't defy the celestial energy to extend someone else's lifespan. That's something only a sacred master can do. Even if you extend it, do you think my lifespan will increase by even a moment? What is your reason for this? At Yeonwei's furious shout, Hanwon gently strokes her hair. A single tear falls from Hanwon's eye. Because, even if it's just a little longer, I want to hold you. At those words, Yeonwei tightly shuts her eyes. Then, with trembling hands, she raises them to cover her face. Slowly she begins to sob. Hanwon also sheds tears. I'm sorry, Yeonwei, the one existence I've loved all this time. Yes, Chinra, in the end was you. I'm sorry. A short and insincere apology. Yet with those short and insincere words, Yeonwei feels the resentment of the past 45,000 years gently melt away. Quarvirung. As the royal palace collapses, one of its main beams falls onto Hanwon's waist. Flames spread across Hanwon's body. Yet Hanwon continues to use protective spells, and the lifespan extending immortal art solely on Yeonwei. Yeonwei slowly rises from her spot. Both are drained of energy, their lifespans nearly depleted, but now it is Hanwon who is lying down. Even as he lies down, he holds onto Yeonwei's body, infusing immortal art, energy, and protective barriers into her. Wei-ya. Sururuk. Hanwon's rough hand brushes against Yeonwei's cheek. At last I've found you, Wei-ya, my Wei-ya. Hanwon's eyes gradually lose focus. Death is approaching. However, neither of them shows any sign of sadness. Yeonwei sheds tears while smiling. Just why did you come all the way here? If it's you, you could have just left me behind and lived. You foolish person. I wanted to see your smiling face one last time before I die. So, and with you, I wanted to go, together on the same day, same time, long ago. We even exchanged the vast cold oath, didn't we? I've told you so many times. That was just a forgotten, useless tradition. It was just a joke. But even as Yeonwei sheds tears, she does not lose her smile. Because Hanwon said he wanted to see her smile. And that is enough. You're the one who could pray to Seo Yunhyan for help and live. Why aren't you doing that? I've lived long enough and... Yeonwei hugs Hanwon tightly and closes her eyes. There's nothing more that I wish for in my life. She smiles. It is the most peaceful and liberated smile she has ever worn. Hwarururu. Quang. Finally, the palace completely collapses. Yeonwei and Hanwon burn together amidst the ruins. The two whose lifespans have come to an end hold hands as they turn to ashes in the flames. A pair of lovers had their fate toyed with by the will of a true immortal. But through one move by Seo Yunhyan, they finally broke free from fate. There might have been ways for them to live longer, but neither chose such methods. Perhaps it's because they don't expect a moment more precious and rare than this one to ever come again in their lifetime. The separated lovers, thus reduced to ashes by the flame, become one as they turn into soil. Hanwon and Yeonwei, having reached the conclusion they desired most, die overwhelmed with happiness. And from within the ashes, two clumps of light rise. Kagagugu. The serving command palace is rotating around the head realm. Having already completed half a rotation around the head realm, the serving command palace is spreading immense brainwashing waves across the entire world. And all of a sudden, Payet. Around those brainwashing waves, a single clump of light rises. At the same time, on a planet within the astral realm, Another clump of light appears before Cohl, who is commanding all the brainwashing waves. The souls of Su-in and Hong-yon. It is the legacy of vast cold within Cohl's grasp. With his eyes gleaming, Cohl grips tightly the attraction force that fills all of heaven and earth. The attraction force of the end completely envelops Cohl. You cannot stop me, Co Yunhyan. Cohl also witnessed the recent history revision and the liberation of Hunwan and Yon Wei through it. But he is not concerned. Such a revision is impossible again. Even history revision has its limits. One is in the head realm, the other is in my hand, yet you dare interfere with the head realm and believe you can seize both souls. Wowung. Cohl even more violently squeezes the attraction force from the spirit bodies of the two souls and declares, "This is my victory." Meanwhile, the three aspects of Co Yunhyan, gathered on cedarwood painting, unite into one. Heaven, earth, heart. Now that one has become entering nirvana, there is a difference in their cultivation realms, making it impossible to use the three great ultimates. But Co Yunhyan doesn't concern himself with such things. He recalls a scene from the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Wowung. The children called Su-in and Hong-yon. It is the scene of them dying tragically that day. Chapter 533, Severing Heaven, Chinese letter, 1. Do you both swear to love each other from now on? It's an old vow. Yet it still remains vividly in my heart. Because that was the day when my canvas of myriad forms and connections was completed. Yes, from now on I will be Yon's legs. From now on I will be Su-in's eyes. As they were dying, the two children who had asked me to officiate their union because I had treated them a little kindly are now being toyed with in Cohl's grasp. I begin to bloom a flower of consolidation, filled with sincerity for those children. Pasazazazak. Across the sun and moon heavenly domain scattered with the canvas of myriad forms and connections, the white orchid blessing incantation begins to bloom. In the next life as well, may the love between the two of you continue. Yes, thank you. Really, truly. The figures of the two lovers who smiled brightly at me. Thank you for your kindness. Then, from that image light bursts forth. As the canvas of myriad forms and connections trembles, the pain I and those children felt at that moment surges around Cohl. At the same time, I rewrite. Flash. The reality of that time when I had blessed the two once again manifests in this world. The reality manifested by Yon's play covers the sky, and my wheel turns, twisting history. At the same time, the two souls extracted by Cohl, one in the head realm and the other in Cohl's grasp. Their misfortune distorts. Flash. You were not caught by Cohl. You lived happily together for 100 years, and as you lived as such, you died as such. Wasn't that so? Quagwagwagwing. A massive explosion erupts in the plane of fate. History is being rewritten. At the same time, immense pain washes over me, but I endure. And the expression on Cohl's face is quite a sight to behold. Co Yunhyan. Has there ever been a time when my name burst so urgently from Cohl's mouth? Probably not. I see a single light pink clump of light emerging from the center of the explosion. Weiyang. One soul from the head realm, due to the rewriting of history, is spinning and soaring away from Cohl's grasp. The reality that has already been connected by me becomes engraved upon the world. Simultaneously, I realize an overwhelming power is enveloping the universe. The souls of Su-in and Hong-yon become one, as if they had been one from the beginning. From somewhere distant, the scent of peach blossoms begins to drift. In an instant, I arrive at a place resembling a peach garden paradise filled with peach blossom trees. And from behind a massive peach blossom tree, I hear someone laughing. Sarek. From behind the peach blossom tree, someone's finger emerges. Immediately after, I feel chills running across my entire body. This is vast cold. In such a situation, the only being likely to appear is the vast cold heavenly Lord. However, I cannot help but tremble, not at the being itself, but at the authority on an entirely different level emanating from them. Someday, let's meet. I hear something like the voices of children in my ears. It is a voice that seems to combine the voices of Su-in and Hong-yon. Is it because their souls have been one from the beginning, Or is it because I bless them this time? For some reason, I feel as though the next time I meet them, they will be as a single entity. It's then, I shall answer your goodwill with goodwill. A voice so moving that it stirs my heart, just by hearing it flows rapidly into the depths of my chest. And I perceive an immense power welling up from within my dantian. This is vast cold heavenly circle. The vast cold heavenly circle I acquired before is resonating madly. The vast cold heavenly circle, imbued with the enlightenment that all is due to the 4 seasons and 4 cycles, that the 4 seasons and 4 cycles are alive, and that through them the entire world is alive, envelops me with dazzling rays of light. This is heavenly circle. In front of my eyes, I briefly see a sky filled with peach blossom petals. Melody. I feel Kim Yon shaking my shoulder urgently. It seems I momentarily fainted, unable to withstand the blessing of vast cold. I understood the nature of vast cold's blessing. The blessing is simple in its effect. It's merely, I shall answer your goodwill with goodwill. The goodwill I have shown this world is returned to me in the form of an equivalent rank. Kurung kurururung. Heavenly tribulation begins to gather around me. Not the earth tribe pathway, but the cultivation of the heaven tribe pathway begins resonating with the power of the vast cold heavenly circle. At the same time, I feel the red giant star of the heaven tribe pathway being compressed. In an instant, the star transforms into a white dwarf, and I can feel it continuing to rise in rank. To have goodwill returned as equivalent in rank. I smile faintly. Truly, the strongest heavenly lord. My plan begins to enter its latter half. Coatrial's brainwashing wave, no longer supported by the attraction force of vast cold, visibly weakens and begins to falter. At this level, awakening the head realm seems utterly impossible. But I can't afford to let my guard down. Wait for me, after completing the final ritual, I will save you. The canvas of myriad forms and connections illuminates the universe. The true reason for scattering the canvas of myriad forms and connections across the entire universe is not merely to erode Coatrial, but this. To this universe. To all the living beings of the universe. To all the pitiful souls who cannot even ascend to the middle realms. To give them a chance. Wu-Lung. The universe rising within the canvas of myriad forms and connections begins to compress gradually. Phenomena extinguishing mantra. The end of the universe I had once witnessed now begins to unfold before my eyes. The attraction force of vast cold has disappeared, but the sun and moon heavenly domain already stands on the verge of cosmic contraction, saturated with vast cold's attraction force. If left alone, the sun and moon heavenly domain will be completely annihilated. The countless living beings who have not ascended to the middle realms will face the ends of their lives here and now. Yon's play manifests the spacetime of that moment. The manifested spacetime is visible only to me. Because if ordinary people were to witness this, they would have no choice but to go mad. The sight of the universe collapsing into a single point and perishing. I use that sight entirely as the misfortune for the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique, spinning the wheel furiously. Though the scene is invisible to everyone but me, perhaps the aura can still be felt. The sacred masters and esteemed ones, led by sacred master Beek Woon, are unleashing an unprecedentedly fierce attack on cedarwood painting. Kururururung. Heaven and earth tremble, and the entire bright cold realm moves, striking cedarwood painting. It's not just the bright cold realm. Ancient force realm, true devil realm, and purple gold realm. The 4 middle realms themselves are moving, violently shaking cedarwood painting as if driven mad. Even if it's an artificial middle realm, if the real middle realms themselves continue to launch attacks, it won't take long before it shatters. Moreover, I notice a presence infiltrating cedarwood painting and brightly bare my white teeth. It's been a while, master. Good. It's Jang Ik. Jang Ik smiles with eyes blazing like ghost fire. The preparations are complete, come at me. Apologies, but right now. Without another word, Jang Ik immediately launches an attack. Quaying. Collapsing immortals annihilating heavens strikes directly at my head. But I simply smile and look at Jang Ik. Jang Ik wears an overwhelmed expression. You blocked that with your teeth, this crazy bastard. That's right. Now, even Jang Ik's greatest decisive technique, collapsing immortals annihilating heavens, is something I can casually block by biting down with my teeth. Well, fine. Jang Ik's gaze sharpens as he floats 4 pados into the void. Since petty techniques don't seem like they work, I'll just show you directly. Kiyoving. The 4 pados merge into one. In an instant. Payet. I understand why Jang Ik hadn't shown this decisive technique until now. The end, it was a technique meant to face the end itself. Everything in front of me turns green. Yes. Jang Ik intended to test his fighting spirit against the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. I honor his madness-filled fighting will and face him with the ultimate decisive move I have been perfecting all this time. In the next moment, a green flash engulfs the entirety of cedarwood painting. The sacred masters grit their teeth and continue hammering cedarwood painting with the middle realms as if driven mad. Jang Ik has gone in. Since that one has decided to risk his life, an opening will appear. Baek Woon shouts frantically with a pale white face as she continues to strike cedarwood painting. But suddenly, flash, a green light seems to briefly fill cedarwood painting, and then silence falls within. Seeing this, Baek Woon's face lights up. Did Jang Ik succeed? Is it over? Immediately after, the faces of Baek Woon and the sacred masters distort once again. Wu Lung. It's because from within cedarwood painting, Seo Yunhyan emerges with a pale and uneasy complexion. Baek Woon grits her teeth and begins drawing upon the power of the bright cold realm. Fine, you monstrous bastard. Since it has come to this, we will stake our lives as well. Seo Yunhyan spreads his arms wide with a mocking smile. It's already too late. At that moment, Payet, brilliantly resplendent rays of light erupt from around Seo Yunhyan's body. Jang Ik's single strike was truly terrifying. However, he could not surpass me. It wasn't purely because of my martial arts realm. But this time, I don't feel ashamed to have lost purely in martial arts, because upon these shoulders rests the entire sun and moon heavenly domain. Go go. Kagagagugu. The wheel spins faster than ever before. Drawing upon all the authority of cedarwood painting, I shout. I rewrite. At the very moment when the scene of the universe contracting into a single point and perishing appears here in the sun and moon heavenly domain. With all my strength, I collide with the fate of the end. O fate of the end, thy coming is already fulfilled. Ding! From where could it be? The sound of a Brahma bell rings out. At the same time, an overwhelming light explodes across the entire sun and moon heavenly domain, which had been accelerating towards the end under my phenomena extinguishing mantra. The entire world seems to shake violently. Instinctively, I realize that I have twisted the very providence of the universe itself. Seo Atrial stares at the result of my efforts with a dumbfounded expression. My comrades read the celestial energy and wear bright expressions. The sacred masters, in shock, send me transmissions like crazy. At last, it has been achieved. The end of the sun and moon heavenly domain has been deferred. The attraction force that had been contracting the universe reverses as providence has overturned, and expansion begins anew. Not a single living being in the sun and moon heavenly domain has been sacrificed to the end. We have succeeded in saving them all. Now only one task remains. I look at Seo Atrial, who is clutching the head realm and squeezing out every last bit of his strength, and begin the final phase of my plan. I will save you too, Seo Atrial. Wu Lung. With that, Seo Atrial's image appears within my canvas of myriad forms and connections. It's the Seo Atrial who, in the past life, charged into the head realm, achieved his goal and turned into a blue earthworm. Chapter 534, Severing Heaven, Chinese letter 2. Don't make me laugh. Seo Atrial mutters with an unusually angry expression, staring at where I stand. Who do you think you are, to do such a thing to me? We yetting. Seo Atrial's tainted soul filling, the heavens begins to operate even faster and more vigorously. Finally, serving command palace completes a full orbit around the head realm. Wu Wung. Once again, Seo Atrial's brainwashing wave amplifies. However, it hardly constitutes a speck compared to what I witnessed in my past life. The amplified brainwashing wave heads straight to the southern end of the head realm, towards the Sea Dragon Palace. See Dragon Palace. See Dragon Palace. The forehead. Coatrial's entire tainted soul, filling the heavens, begins rushing urgently towards the forehead of the head realm. Even though he knows that it is impossible with this level of brainwashing wave, he forces himself to operate tainted soul filling the heavens. He is feeling it too. It's not just because he's lost his judgment due to my filling the heavens governing views erosion. It's because an intense sense of crisis is driving him to bet everything on an unwinnable gamble. Even though what is inside my canvas of myriad forms and connection can be manifested through Yon's play, others cannot see it. They can only vaguely sense that something is there. Yes, it cannot be seen, but it can be roughly felt. Coatrial can feel the rewriting of history itself that will lead to the ominous history of his existence being reduced to a worm. Your defeat was inevitable from the start, Coatrial. So the only thing I can do for him is Pariet. I rewrite this grim future, to sever it with my own hands. The image of Coatrial that appears on the canvas of myriad forms and connection shines brightly as it begins manifesting through Yon's play. Simultaneously, the manifested spacetime condenses, and once again, I manifest the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique based upon that misfortune. Weiyang. I begin to turn the wheel. This is the last time. So far, I have invoked rewriting a total of 3 times. Han 1 and Yon Wei. Su In and Hong Yon. And the end of the sun and moon, heavenly domain. Why was it in this specific order? If urgency was the priority, shouldn't the end of the sun and moon, heavenly domain, have been prevented first? The reason is that there is a limit to the history I can rewrite with my own hands. Twisting the fate of Han 1 and Yon Wei to grant those two even a slightly better conclusion was the maximum extent of rewriting I could achieve. However, history is fundamentally an explosion. It is also life, and the foundation that forms what we know as Qi. That's why once the first explosion occurred, history had no choice but to shake. I used that tectonic shift of history to trigger a chain explosion to rewrite the fate of vast cold's attraction force, which is on a completely different rank than Han 1 and Yon Wei. Then, through the tectonic shift caused by the rewrite of Su In and Hong Yon, I rewrote the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. And through the tectonic shift caused by delaying the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain itself, I now aim to rewrite an even grander history. Wu Wuang. The head realm. I stare at the place where the head realm lies. Unlike when my cultivation was lower, looking at the head realm no longer feels painful or overwhelming. Though I still feel an indescribable and ominous sense of dread, it doesn't make me lose consciousness like before. While it's difficult to clearly observe the inner situation, the heavenly being grand elders of the golden divine heavenly thunder sect within the head realm have been reporting the situation to Jian Myung-hoon and me. Hence, I know. To shake the head realm, it must at least match the aftermath of shaking the sun and moon heavenly domain. Still, I honestly feel uneasy. Will this kind of rewrite even work on the head realm? Will it really be enough? When my wheel becomes able to rewrite history through the change in history, I develop a sense to recognize it. I can roughly tell whether it will succeed or fail. However, even as I directly feel the aftermath of saving the sun and moon heavenly domain, I realize that such a sense isn't forming. Even now, the head realm feels so vast and distant that my strength alone seems difficult to rewrite it. But suddenly, at that moment, Payet, Kagagagugu, the formula of the vast cold heavenly circle begins to surge as if alive, rampaging madly. What is this? I am stunned by the power of the vast cold heavenly circle boiling within me as if trying to explode, and I try to suppress the explosive force. But it cannot be suppressed. The power of the vast cold heavenly circle surges terrifyingly. I understand why this is happening. Vast cold's blessing. It's the blessing I received from vast cold's lingering will when I saved In and Yon. And in accordance with that blessing, the goodwill I showed to the sun and moon heavenly domain is now being returned to me. Wait. But I can't help but feel horrified. This is too much. My cultivation realm begins to rise uncontrollably. The grand perfection sacred vessel stage cultivation of the heaven tribe begins to pierce through the ceiling. At this rate, either cedarwood painting will suffer damage, or my body will just explode. Now, there is only one way to prevent that from happening. I must perform the entering nirvana advancement ritual, right now. Of course, advancing to the entering nirvana stage usually takes some time. However, seeing my realm surge like this, I realize I can ignore the usual procedures and time constraints to advance directly to entering nirvana. Although advancing means I will become separated from cedarwood painting. It doesn't matter. The power of a sacred master was only necessary for the situation moments ago when I had to save the entire universe. I originally needed the power of cedarwood painting to resonate my canvas of myriad forms and connections with the entirety of the sun and moon, heavenly domain. Currently, when I only need to focus the canvas of myriad forms and connections on the head realm, the power of cedarwood painting is no longer essential. Instead, what I need now might be an even higher realm. Wu-Wang. As I rise to the grand perfection sacred vessel stage, I realize that the 8 paths have been fully completed. And above the 8 paths, I add one more. The average success rate for sacred vessel sacred masters advancing to the entering nirvana stage is 40%. This is because the advancement to the entering nirvana stage is that straightforward. The formula for the entering nirvana stage is royal perfection. By adding royal perfection to the 8 paths completed during the sacred vessel stage to form the 9 palaces, Chinese letter, one achieves the entering nirvana stage. Chwarak. I recall the formula of royal perfection. What is royal perfection? It can be interpreted as a virtue a ruler must possess, or perhaps the disposition of a ruler. It determines the ruler's direction. And when royal perfection is added to the 8 paths, the authority that has manipulated fate and life up until now, the cultivator completes their very own immortal art. I have opened my eyes. I have already determined the direction I must take. Therefore, all that remains is to complete crystal glass to treading sea. Payet. As I begin to operate crystal glass to treading sea, an immense sea of glass swords emerges around cedarwood painting from the aftermath. Chwara. The blessing of goodwill given by vast cold aligns perfectly with what my crystal glass to treading sea has been pursuing, allowing it to grow rapidly and gradually shed the framework of a mere cultivation method. Through crystal glass to treading sea, which was once merely the starting point of an immortal art, I now obtain a true immortal art. Payet. Crystal glass to treading sea becomes clearer, and clearer still, until it suddenly reaches a state so transparent that even a cultivator's consciousness domain would struggle to perceive it. And at last, when my authority reaches its peak, flash, I finally complete the immortal art of crystal glass to treading sea once more. My immortal art, which had roughly taken shape during my advancement through the Earth Tribe pathway, becomes even clearer and more cohesive as I advance through the Heaven Tribe pathway. At the same time, a volcanic surge of momentum erupts within me. The advancement tribulation of the entering nirvana stage begins. By the time one reaches the entering nirvana stage, the level of heaven and earth spiritual energy generated within one's body surpasses imagination. Thus, from the entering nirvana stage onward, the form of heavenly tribulations completely transforms. Whereas before, one would withstand heavenly tribulations. Starting from the entering nirvana stage, one must cast down heavenly tribulations. It feels as though the dragon vein within me is boiling over, and the laws of the sun and moon, heavenly domain, begin to extract something from within me. It is a star tribulation, completely opposite from the star-shattering stage. The advancement tribulation for the entering nirvana stages involves extracting the star tribulation from within oneself and embedding it into all the stars across the entire heavenly domain. I am being squeezed dry. Some law governing the heavenly tribulation is wringing me like crazy. As the star tribulation is squeezed and squeezed, eventually, all the true origin within a true person's body becomes hollowed out, leading to death. Enduring this process is the advancement ritual for entering nirvana, and because of the star tribulation bestowment ritual, those advancing to entering nirvana take thousands of years to complete the advancement ritual. They shoot out star tribulation in intervals of years. But I have no need for that. Kagagugu. It's because the wave of volcanic authority stemming from vast cold's blessing surges out from my entire being, spreading wildly to the stars of the universe. The law of heavenly tribulation is relentlessly wringing out my power. It squeezes me so fiercely that, for a fleeting moment, I see the illusion of a soft foot before my eyes. I must not lose consciousness. I focus my mind and take out the dusk talisman I received from Banta. Welwung. A powerful contracting force controls my star tribulation, preventing the power within me from instantly dissipating into emptiness. Of course, despite this, the terrifying power inside me continues to be squeezed outwards. However, the blessing of vast cold withstands this immense wringing and widely scatters the star tribulation across the entire sun and moon heavenly domain. As trillions, quadrillions of star tribulations are wrung out of me in an instant, I finally reach the realm of heaven and earth dual cultivation of the entering nirvana stage. Kagagugu. The entire universe is connected to the star tribulation extracted from my body. The reason beings at the entering nirvana stage can manipulate starlight across thousands of light years is precisely because the star tribulation drawn from their bodies remains connected to the stars of the world. Welwung. I smile at the flow of immortal art coursing through my body. This immortal art does not yet have a name. However, it is clear that the immortal art obtained through crystal glass to treading sea suits me well. I gaze upon my body, now separated from cedarwood painting. Kagagugu. My body has become a complete white dwarf star. Although it is said that in the sacred vessel stage, one creates fixed stars, red giants and white dwarfs, sacred vessels fundamentally lack any substance. The stars they create are merely effects granted by their realm, and cannot truly be called physical bodies. The main bodies of sacred vessels are better described as the attraction force orbiting stars, red giants, white dwarfs, and other celestial bodies. However, now that immortal art resides within my body, the white dwarf star I had created has become my physical body. No, to be precise. Welwung. I spin the white dwarf star. As it rotates, its form begins to change. It would instantly return to being a fixed star, then transform into another planet, sometimes becoming a black hole in the universe, and at other times taking the form of a blue giant or even a black dwarf or a brown dwarf. Weaving. I can now also project my main body and create planetary clones. This is what Yo-Hwi calls troubled star and is the foundation for her spells. Kagagugung. In the vast expanse of space, I transform my body in the combat technique form. The glass true fire of crystal glass to treading sea wraps around my body, forming winged garments. I look at cedarwood painting before me and at the planets and stars surrounding it. My combat technique form is now so massive that its sheer size approaches that of a fixed star. With the brute force of my physical body alone, I can now shatter stars and kill star-shattering stage cultivators. Weaving. Halo of Taiji appears behind my head. During the heavenly being stage, the alignment of heaven, earth, and heart was required for the three great ultimates to appear. Editor, three great ultimates is literally written as Chinese letter 3, Chinese letter Taiji. But now at the entering nirvana stage, the form of Taiji seems to manifest simply through heaven and earth dual cultivation. However, this form of Taiji doesn't seem to produce the overwhelming amplification of power achieved by the three great ultimates. Of course, it doesn't really matter. I briefly savor the sensation of reaching the entering nirvana stage. Cultivators, in fact, harbor many misconceptions. They believe that accumulating the cultivation of heaven and earth to reach the plane of fate is the method to becoming a true immortal. However, this is a massive misunderstanding. Reaching the plane of fate actually refers to the realm of entering nirvana. More specifically, the entering nirvana for heaven tribe cultivators. Earth tribe cultivators in the entering nirvana stage do not reach the plane of fate, but instead gain control of the plane of chi. Controlling a plane. This is the very precursor to becoming a true immortal, the quasi-immortal. From there, advancing to the true immortal realm through a specific ritual and attaining an immortal rank is what is known as true immortality. For this reason, many already consider those at the entering nirvana stage to be part of true immortality. This is what defines the entering nirvana stage. Welwung. With the halo of Taiji shining behind my head, I extend my finger towards Cohrial, who is rushing towards his goal in the distance. The canvas of myriad forms and connection spreads across the head realm. It's possible. As an entering nirvana, I can vaguely sense that it is possible to alter Cohrial's history. Yet because this is the head realm, the odds remain 50-50. Will you succeed, or will I save you? Today, the ill-fated connection between you and I will find its resolution. I issue a command to the stars connected to the star vein emanating from me. In the name of a quasi-immortal, I declare, let the stars of the nations hear me. Kagagugugu. The starlight of the sun and moon, heavenly domain begins to shift. The scene of Cohrial brainwashing the stars through tainted soul, filling the heavens first appears, followed by the entering nirvana persons and blood yin. And then, it's the ability that Yo-HWI had displayed. As I control the starlight connected to me, I realize one thing. The range of the star vein formation I can control is overwhelmingly greater than other entering nirvanas. Indeed, if the range of a star vein formation that an average entering nirvana quasi-immortal can construct were said to be 10, the range I can construct reaches about 60 or 70. Far more stars submit to my command. Good, let's go. Carrying the hope on countless stars, I project that scene onto the canvas of myriad forms and connections. From the moment Cohrial's plan was formulated in the past life, to the scene where he brainwashes the head realm. The scene Ran tragically perishes, empowered by Cohrial's plan. And immediately after, the scene where Cohrial's history is rewritten, and he meets a miserable end. Yon's play assists me as I once again unfold the extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique. Yurarung. I deceive the world within extinguishing, divine tribulating heavens, and draw upon the power of the fiercely rotating wheel. The star vein formation supports me. With more caution than in any previous rewrite, I offer my past as a sacrifice to extinguishing divine tribulating heavens and begin to twist history. I rewrite. Dujajujudo. Even as a quasi-immortal, using an immortal art targeting the head realm requires utmost caution. After all, in the previous cycle, I saw 3 governing immortals that had been crushed and turned into middle realms. Someone like me could not dare use anything excessive against such a terrifying existence. I must not overreach. I must not hope for Cohrial's grand plan to succeed, and for him to return alive after conversing with the head realm. Nor can I blindly hope for Cohrial to fail within the head realm. All I must do is create the utmost justification for Cohrial's failure. If I interfere with the head realm beyond that, even I don't know what might happen to myself. O Cohrial, I do not interfere with the fate of the head realm. Instead, I rewrite the history of the being known as Cohrial. May thee realize the heart within thyself. Thump. In the depths of Cohrial's grand plan, the arrangements that ran and I had planted until now begin to awaken. Now realize it, Cohrial. What I interfered with is neither Cohrial's fate nor the fate of the head realm. Rather, I twisted history just enough so that Cohrial can properly see the sincerity, Chinese letter, hidden deep within his own heart. That's when the brainwashing wave reaches the Sea Dragon Palace. Flash. From one point within Cohrial's brainwashing wave, a resplendently brilliant beam of light bursts forth. The beam of light takes the form of a 6-tailed fox and howls atop the brainwashing wave. The spirit body of the 4-axis stage Shiho begins to howl fiercely, disrupting Cohrial's brainwashing wave. Shattered and scattered across the universe through tainted soul filling the heavens, Shiho gained the justification to return through Seo Yunhyan's history revision. Ra, N letter 1D664 letter 1D41B, epsilons. However, Cohrial doesn't care and continues pushing the brainwashing wave forward. After all, to someone born as a sacred vessel, Shiho is nothing more than an insignificant creature he can kill at any time. That's how it should have been. Shiho shouts with all his remaining strength. Remember, remember, black. Hearing those words, Cohrial feels an inexplicable churning sensation in his body. Black. Shiho calls the name of that person, now erased. The pronunciation is muddled beyond recognition, and even Shiho himself doesn't know whom he's calling, but he calls nonetheless. Black. Someone begins pulling Shiho, who is within the head realm. It is Seo Yun Hyan, who is outside the head realm. As if Shiho's role has ended the moment he called out Black's name once. Seo Yun Hyan is summoning Shiho back. If he were to return, Shiho would likely be given a new body by Seo Yun Hyan, resume cultivation, and continue to live. However, Shiho rejects even Seo Yun Hyan's call and continues to scream towards Seo Hwal's brainwashing wave until the very end. Even as he detonates his own spirit body, he shouts into the depths of Seo Hwal's tainted soul, filling the heavens. As if begging, pleading for even just a single moment to reach through. He becomes a pure white beam of light. Black, remember, I. Shiho's spirit body exhausts all its strength above Seo Hwal's brainwashing wave before disappearing entirely. I loved you, not Seo Hwal but Black, you. Without even being able to save Black. Shiho, despite receiving another chance at life, vanishes. Seo Hwal completely hurls Shiho's spirit into the afterlife, then settles into the Sea Dragon Palace, arriving at the southern end of the head realm sky. At the forehead of the head realm. Finally, I've arrived. Through tainted soul filling the heavens, Seo Hwal's soul arrives directly at the edge of the head realm brainwashing wave. All that remains is to pierce through this forehead and exit the head realm. By doing so, the head realm will awaken, and Seo Hwal will gain a brief opportunity to gaze upon the Akashic records stored within the depths of the head realm. He recalls the first time he saw the Akashic records. Back then, the Akashic records granted him the knowledge he desired. This time as well, the Akashic records will surely grant Seo Hwal the knowledge of his origin that he desires. Then Seo Hwal will be absorbed into the Akashic records and, in turn, absorbed into his origin. In doing so, he will influence the origin that gave birth to him. At long last, Seo Hwal's goal will be complete. At that moment, Seo Hwal inexplicably feels something strange. Something is twisted. For some reason, he doesn't want to go beyond this forehead and be absorbed into the Akashic records. Seo Hwal's heart is rejecting him. What is this? Why? He looks at his abruptly unmoving heart, taken aback. This isn't some peculiar spell. There isn't any trace of an immortal art. It's just, simply, his heart refuses to move his body. A mere heart, how dare it? Bujaduk. Seo Hwal grits his teeth. Tormenting him all throughout his life has always been the heart. From the very beginning, it was because he had a heart that he suffered. A mere heart. Seo Hwal ignores his heart and forcibly raises his hand towards the southern end of the head realm. A mere heart. Finally, he grips the southern end of the head realm and tightly shuts his eyes. Just what have you done to me this time, Seo Yun Hyan? Just one step forward, and his goal is within reach. However, that single step, his heart refuses to let him take it. The history that Seo Yun Hyan rewrote for Seo Hwal is only one single thing. The manifestations that Seo Yun Hyan imprinted into Seo Hwal's heart through beatings. Those hearts were not just simple hearts of the heart tribe. They were strikes infused with the hearts of every person who had been harmed by Seo Hwal throughout Seo Yun Hyan's life. From Seo Yun Hyan himself to Jiu Ryon, Jiu Beek, UHWA, Beek Yom, slave races, Su In and Hong Yon, and countless other living beings of the sun and moon heavenly domain. And even Seo Ran's heart. Seo Yun Hyan engraved all those hearts, even if only in the form of manifestations, into Seo Hwal's heart. And what Seo Yun Hyan rewrote is this: to make the will of Seo Ran, which should have completely melted into tainted soul filling the heavens, remain intact, however faintly. If even the faintest trace remains, Seo Ran will reawaken through the countless hearts Seo Yun Hyan engraved. And Seo Ran will hold back Seo Hwal's footsteps. That is the history of Seo Hwal, rewritten by Seo Yun Hyan. Seo Hwal realizes this fact immediately. I see, so you're still alive within me, Black. Staring at the head realm where Seo Hwal resides, I bite my lip tightly. Please, Seo Ran, out. The odds are 50-50. Seo Ran will undoubtedly push aside Seo Hwal and emerge through my arrangements. But the problem is, that place is the head realm. I have no idea what kind of variables might occur. Damn it. For the first time in his life, Seo Hwal spits out crude curses and grits his teeth. Just what is a heart supposed to mean? Despite everything being right before his eyes, Seo Atrial cannot move because of the aching presence of Seo Ran's heart within his chest. He remembers Seo Yunhyan's punches. He recalls every time Seo Yunhyan swung his fist, an unknown pain was engraved into him. Among those pains, there was one that felt familiar. He remembers Seo Yunhyan's filling the heavens governing view. He remembers the gazes that shone through the hazy mist of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Those gazes were undoubtedly familiar. He remembers Shiho's call. In truth, Shiho was an insignificant being who had no connection to him. However, Shiho's call undoubtedly resonated within the depths of Seo Atrial's heart. And Seo Atrial realizes the cause of those feelings of deja vu. Is it you, Black Black? The words that he will never disappear. His gaze is reverberating within Seo Atrial's chest. Suddenly, everything feels futile to him. What if he just lets go and watches to see what answer Seo Ran came up with? That's how much. Seo Ran's heart, resonating within Seo Atrial, is overwhelmingly powerful. Based on Seo Ran's heart, the countless hearts Seo Yunhyan embedded within Seo Atrial are trying to turn his steps around. At that moment, Seo Atrial suddenly sees the sun and moon of the head realm. He gazes into the light of the sun and moon. Within that light, he recalls his first parents. Seo Atrial remembers being loved by them when he was born. His parents from back then. Seo Atrial grits his teeth as he stares at the light of the head realm. Seo Ran's heart is undeniably intense. The hearts Seo Yunhyan arbitrarily implanted within him are also overwhelmingly strong. However, Seo Atrial remembers that he, too, possesses a heart. A fierce hatred begins to rise. In truth, if it were only hatred, Seo Atrial might not have been able to overcome Seo Ran and the other hearts. But today, Seo Atrial realizes what lies on the other side of this hatred. He realizes that he's been wanting to see his first parents once again. Just as the darkest shadows are born from the brightest light, the source of Seo Atrial's hatred is ultimately the hollow existence of his first parents. Therefore, Seo Atrial carries not only hatred, but also a faint glimmer of hope. At least his first parents were real, existing beings. He has come all the way here for the faint hope, for the faint light that he might have once been loved by those real, existing beings. Seo Atrial's hatred rivaling that of Great Mountain cannot overcome the heart Seo Yunhyan has built. However, that tiny spark of hope Seo Atrial has discovered deep within his heart. It allows Seo Atrial to stand against the hearts of Seo Yunhyan and Seo Ran. Seo Atrial breaks the restraint Seo Yunhyan has embedded in his chest and slowly reaches his hand toward the southern end of the sky. The light of the head realm is awakening Seo Atrial's hope. Must confirm. At last, Seo Atrial, still under Seo Yunhyan's numerous suppressions, reaches out towards the edge of the head realm. Transforming entirely into a mental wave, Seo Atrial directly moves and exits through the head realm's forehead. Or rather, he tries. Clench. Seo Atrial, whose upper body had been passing through the forehead, is yanked back by a firm hand grabbing his ankle. That hand grips Seo Atrial tightly and restricts his body with countless demon abilities. However, that being soon vomits blood under the countless waves surging out of Seo Atrial's body. The being throws Seo Atrial somewhere far away. A dimensional gate of the head realm is opened, and Seo Atrial is sent flying somewhere in the astral realm. The one who threw Seo Atrial sinks beneath the sea of the head realm, vomiting blood. That being is Hong Fan, who has lowered his cultivation to the 4-axis stage to enter the head realm. Well done, Hong Fan. In the end, I failed to turn Seo Atrial back. However, Hong Fan had volunteered to stop Seo Atrial himself. I explained the dangers of the head realm, but Hong Fan insisted he would go, even if it meant lowering his cultivation realm. And Hong Fan seized a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity to pull Seo Atrial out. He didn't awaken the head realm. I let out a sigh of relief. If Seo Atrial awakened the head realm, there would have been no way to deal with the consequences. I look at the place where Hong Fan threw Seo Atrial. There, Seo Atrial floats aimlessly in space with a blank expression. Wong. At the same time, Seo Atrial's body inexplicably flickers with the powerful energy of Taiji, growing faint before reappearing in flashes. Even if he didn't awaken the head realm, that reaction. It seems as though he had glimpsed something deep within the head realm. Hong Fan's success in pulling Cohl out was truly thanks to impeccable timing. If he had grabbed Cohl just a little earlier, Hong Fan himself would have been brainwashed by tainted soul filling the heavens while Cohl was still conscious. If he had been just a little later, perhaps only Cohl's pants would have remained. At the exact moment Cohl pushed his head into the secrets of the head realm, glimpsed something, and lost consciousness, Hong Fan had pulled him out. It was truly an extraordinary decision. Rest for now. If it's only the 4-axis stage, you'll be safe even in the head realm. Once you return, I will spare no effort to ensure you reach the star-shattering stage immediately. Wu Weng. Feeling gratitude towards Hong Fan, I prepare to leap towards Cohl location. Though Cohl is flickering wildly across the surrounding space, the frequency of his flickering is gradually decreasing. It seems the effects of the something he witnessed in the head realm are fading with time. Now everything is over, Cohl. I reach my hand towards Cohl, who for some reason still wears a dazed expression. When his tainted soul filling the heavens activated, all the tainted soul filling the heavens across the universe disappeared. Now the only remaining tainted soul filling the heavens is the one flickering over there. And because of having witnessed something in the head realm, Cohl seems unable to activate tainted soul filling the heavens any longer in his current state. In other words, there is only one chance to eradicate tainted soul filling the heavens and awaken Ran, and that is now. Kagagagugu. My hand leaps across the universe and reaches towards where Cohl is. Just as I'm about to see Cohl. Payet. Teji seems to ripple around Cohl, and Oh Haiseo appears, snatching his body away. She quickly begins to flee somewhere. It's not Oh Haiseo's main body. Is it a clone created through immortal beast true blood? Who? I observe her clone with interest. As her clone absorbs the Teji rippling out of the dazed Cohl, she grows faster and stronger. I immediately grasp the principle behind it at a glance. Cohl's body is currently filled with the ancient force he gained from witnessing the head realm, and Oh Haiseo is able to absorb that ancient force for herself. She accelerates more and more, soon leaping light years away like someone in the star-shattering stage. Of course, this isn't true star-shattering level power, but rather a massive amplification of power through the immortal beast true blood due to the ancient force emanating from Cohl. It's quite a bold act. Despite the fear of being caught by me, daring to come here to rescue Cohl. It seems that she, too, has undergone a slight change of heart. But that's all there is. Weng. I clench my fist. From thousands of light years away, Oh Haiseo begins to be drawn into my grasp. I have the confidence to reverse track her clone's energy and pull her main body here in one go. Come, Oh Haiseo, come here. Struck with horror, she seems to be trying to escape my attraction force while holding the dazed Cohl. But it's useless. Even if she somehow gained the power of the star-shattering stage through luck, it doesn't matter. Between her and me lies an insurmountable wall. She is already nothing more than an insignificant being, Chinese letter. And that applies to Cohl as well, who has now consumed all of his tainted soul filling the heavens and is now half out of his mind. You too can no longer escape this immortal's grasp. I have already decided how to deal with Oh Haiseo. I gave her countless chances. The number of opportunities alone I gave her to correct her nature as she lived as a candle dragon surpassed thousands. Yet she kicked away every chance and even attempted to kill Shiho. Now there will be no more chances. Her flesh will be modified into a living puppet by Kim Yon, her soul refined into a ghost king by Kang Minhee, and she will be turned into a puppet dharma treasure that practices the ghost path method, eventually becoming one of our immortal treasures. And Cohl will never be able to come back to life. All that will remain in this world will be Ran. It's just when I think so. Dieng. A faint sound of a Brahma bell rings, and I realize the stars around me have stopped moving. At the same time, the flames of the nearby fixed stars freeze. The sacred masters and true persons who have been communicating with me fall silent. My comrades who have been raising a celebratory toast freeze in place. This is time in the sun and moon heavenly domain has momentarily stopped. And then, a familiar old man appears before my eyes. the immortal treasure of the heavenly venerable of time. South Polar ritual treasure, Yongseung. I no longer feel the same fear as before and calmly ask, "What brings you here, agent of time?" Yongseung asks me with a dry expression. "You have tampered with providence. Did you stop the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain?" Seeing Yongseung's demeanor, I feel relieved. The fact that he chooses to speak through mental speech in consideration for me means he holds some goodwill towards me. That is correct. Your recent actions have disrupted providence, resonating and spreading widely with the beings who govern death, end, and restart. Moreover, it caused a powerful vibration impossible for us gods of the time lineage to overlook. Yongseung continues speaking with an indifferent face. In particular, it directly resonated with me, the agent of the Lord, and with the Lord's direct disciples. And, while I do not care, one faction among the Lord's direct disciples have been deeply angered by you. They will soon descend upon the sun and moon heavenly domain to judge you and your associates. Who are they? At my words, Yongseung lowers his voice and responds. Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Comparable to the underworld 10 kings of the netherworld, they will soon descend using their pawns within the sun and moon heavenly domain. I let out a low hum at his words. Why are you telling me this? Are you not on the same side? They differ in opinion from me. More importantly, the Lord has shown you respect. That alone is far more than enough of a reason enough for me to aid you. Wong. Yongseung clenches his fist and extends something towards me. It is a small celestial sphere, resembling the main body of the South Polar ritual treasure Yongseung. The great desolate path of golden divine is an imitation of me. Because of that, I can intervene to some extent. If you go to the lightning sacred sea and use this celestial sphere, you'll be able to activate the great desolate path once. Use it to escape to another heavenly domain. I look at him and ask one question. Can my comrades move with me as well? If you force them in, one other person could accompany you, but any more is difficult. I have no interest in your comrades. Then I refuse. If I leave my comrades behind and they are all torn apart by enraged true immortals, as happened during the phenomena extinguishing mantra incident, what would I do then? At my words, Yongseung furrows his brow. That is foolish. They will not descend in their main bodies, but rather project themselves through their pawns in the sun and moon heavenly domain. But even so, their projections are strong. Each and every one of them can annihilate all the mortal beings in the sun and moon heavenly domain. If all 7 descend, even killing Blood Yin would not be impossible for them. If they are such beings, then all the more reason for me to bring my comrades along. If I cannot go with them, I will not go at all. Foolish, unless you are at the level of vast cold in their youth, you cannot stop them. That may be true, however. I calmly convey my will to Yongseung. Running away alone, without doing anything, is something I hate more than death. I've already experienced such pain deep in my bones, under the great mountain supreme deity. I will not endure such suffering again, even if we all have to die together. Yongseung stares at me silently for a moment, then lets out a small sigh. He hands me the celestial sphere and turns around. Do as you wish. If this is your will, I will not stop you. Wong. With those words, Yongseung disappears from sight. And from where he vanishes, a brief echo of his voice lingers, breathing hope into me. Among your subordinates, the one called Yo Hwi is a pawn of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. Originally, their descent requires the power of 49 entering nirvana beings. With one missing, their descent will be incomplete, to the point where even with 7, they probably will not be able to catch Blood Yin. This is the only aid I can offer you. I will accept it gratefully. I take the celestial sphere and store it within my domain for now. It is said receiving something from true immortals brings misfortune, but this is a time where I must accept it. This is quite literally the final bastion. Kijijijik. I turn my gaze towards a point in the universe. As Yongseung said, somewhere in the sky, familiar figures are at work. They are all too familiar. Truly, you all share such a sickening ill fate with this immortal. The nearly 50 entering nirvanas who have been bothering me since the nether ghost realm. Now reduced to 48 with Yo Hwi's absence, these entering nirvana true persons are linking their star veins together, drawing some kind of star vein formation in the cosmic space. I glance between them and see Ohrial, before extending my hand towards Coatreal. Wu-wung. Gang sphere clone extends from my hand and flies towards Coatreal and Ohicio. Capture Ohicio and witness Coatreal's conclusion. At this point, that is the extent of their significance to me. To prepare to face the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, who are said will appear to threaten me, I begin flying towards the star vein formation. Wu-wung. I briefly close my eyes as I observe the entering nirvanas, who are summoning the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords through the star vein formation. Can I do it? Logically, there's no way I can face the 7 true immortals known as the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords with my strength alone. From what Yong-seung said, they seem to be quite high-ranking even among true immortals. If such beings descend as projections, they would already possess the might of true immortals. On top of that, I am now in the entering nirvana stage. That means I am currently the most vulnerable existence to true immortals in this world. Why are those in the entering nirvana stage the most vulnerable to true immortals? It is related to the true immortal advancement method. True immortals are also divided into realms and stages. TL, stages as in early, mid, late, etc. According to Yo-HWI, the first realm one steps into after becoming a true immortal is called Vestige Liberation Immortal, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. The meaning of the name itself reveals how one advances to that realm. Vestige Liberation, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. It refers to beings who shed their physical bodies and ascend entirely into the world above the planes of Qi, soul, and fate. In short, the true immortal advancement ritual is liberation from the physical body. That is, one must abandon all their lifespan, physical body, and everything one has pursued in the mortal world up until now to reach true immortality. Simply put, we call this suicide, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Death, such a simple yet terrifying ritual, is the only way to advance to become a true immortal. Why do the nether ghost realm entering nirvanas not challenge the true immortal advancement ritual, but instead spend countless days staring at the corpse of reincarnation Judge Yu Su-ryeon, who holds the secret of resurrection? Arsadil Alpha Nu Obar Beta. Why did the remnant of the Golden Divine tell me we all eventually have to go to the netherworld? It is because the true immortal advancement ritual is, at its core, suicide. This is precisely why it is nearly impossible for those in the entering nirvana stage to resist true immortals and why they must clump together to stand a chance against them. True immortals who have completed vestige liberation and obtained their immortal rank already embody both life and death within themselves. Furthermore, once cultivators reach a certain stage, they can gain knowledge simply by directly facing the other person. Thus, when entering nirvana, true persons behold a true immortal, they behold death itself. And true persons who behold death are said to immediately undergo the true immortal advancement ritual on the spot. In short, entering nirvanas die just by directly facing a true immortal. If they are lucky, they might survive and become a true immortal. But in the situation of suddenly facing a true immortal and suddenly performing the advancement ritual, who knows how high the success rate is? For an entering nirvana cultivator who is not mentally prepared, directly facing a true immortal is unimaginably dangerous. In fact, the difference in rank between entering nirvana true persons and vestige liberation immortals is said to be almost negligible. However, the life and death that vestige liberation immortals hold within them boasts an absolute counter against entering nirvana true persons. This is why it is said that true persons must group together to face a vestige liberation immortal. When true persons gather together, they can, in their own way, use fate prophecies to strike at a vestige liberation immortal without directly facing them. But, honestly speaking, where in this heavenly domain would I find someone willing to join forces with me to fight 7 true immortal rank beings? Just facing one vestige liberation immortal alone requires at least 50 entering nirvana true persons. However, the ones descending soon are beings of an even higher rank than vestige liberation immortals, and it is unfathomable how deep their experience as true immortals runs. Each one of them is likely stronger than an ordinary true immortal. Furthermore, Yong-seung said that if their projections fully coverage, they could even capture blood yin. Blood yin. Blood yin serves as the benchmark. Yong-seung said that originally, 49 true persons are needed to draw the star vein formation to divine descent the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords. But since Yo-HWI is missing, making the count 48, the divine descent will not be perfect. Therefore, the projection of the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, summoned this time, will not be able to defeat Blood Yin. Yong-seung himself doesn't seem to have any intention of directly helping me, and considering his words, it seems he's subtly suggesting that I go seek out Blood Yin and beg for help. But that's far too dangerous. Having subdued Cohreal to near perfection, the greatest threats right now are the soon-to-be-summoned Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords and Blood Yin. Especially since Blood Yin sees me as a follower of light, I have no idea what he might do to me if I fall into his hands. Thus, going to Blood Yin isn't the worst option, but it's still the next worst choice. But given the current situation, the next worst choice is the only option left. If that's the case, I need to turn that next worst choice into at least the second best choice. I must become stronger. I contemplate as I gaze at the All-Heaven's sword. I have reached the pinnacle of void shattering. Now, all that remains is to reach the next realm. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have had the slightest clue to reach that next realm if I hadn't met Jang Ik. However, through Jang Ik's final strike, I obtained a clue to the next realm. I will show you. This is the fighting spirit to cut down the end. Qiyang. Jang Ik's green light fills cedarwood painting. I, observing Jang Ik's green intent, silently imbue the all-heaven sword into the colorless glass sword. The colorless glass sword melts into the all-heaven sword, transforming into something akin to a pure white line. Then I draw out the single technique I've been perfecting all this time. Severing mountain swordsmanship. Final decisive move. As the 36th technique, this is the last move that stabilizes the flow of severing mountain swordsmanship. Qiyang. Pure white light begins to gather into the all-heaven sword. Seeing this, Jang Ik chuckles softly. Such brute force, what do you intend to cut with that? I can't help but cough embarrassingly at his words. As Jang Ik said, brute strength is indeed being condensed, but there is a lack of sharpness. At this rate, it is nothing more than a club, not a sword. This technique is not yet complete. For it to be perfected, it might take tens of thousands of years, perhaps hundreds of millions of years. The conception of the technique itself has been finalized. However, the time required to train, the technique I envisioned, is so long that it's impossible to predict when it will finally be completed. Jang Ik clicks his tongue and says, "Hurry up and get rid of it. If that's the case, just confront me with your authority instead." It's quite a disrespectful thing to say to a fellow heart tribe. But I accept his words. To attempt to withstand Jang Ik's lifetime-honed single strike with an incomplete technique would instead be me who is being rude. I adjust my stance, preparing the linkage between the 33rd Sumeru and the 34th Kunlun. Now that's better, a much more impressive momentum. Yes, even if it's master, you'll have to be on guard for this one. I'm not simply talking about the power of Sumeru Kunlun. So it appears. Regardless, now that you've conceptualized the final decisive move of your martial arts, the flow of your martial arts Chinese letter itself has stabilized. He's right. I've conceptually completed all 36 moves of severing mountain swordsmanship. And over time, I have stabilized them with the goal of linking all 36 techniques seamlessly from start to finish. Severing mountain swordsmanship serves as a stable foundation for unleashing the 36th and final decisive move, reorganizing previously somewhat disjointed and lacking techniques into a cohesive and unified whole. Thus, the move of Sumeru Kunlun I am unleashing now is not the same as before. This ultimate beyond the end thrust, which once pierced through Blood Yin's hand and temporarily sealed Yo-Hy's cultivation, can now be performed up to 3 consecutive times. If it hits, it's a technique capable of helping an entering nirvana undergo the true immortal advancement ritual in a single go. However, even though I have prepared such a Sumeru Kunlun, I feel I cannot possibly muster the courage to face Jang Ik. Jang Ik looks at me and grins. For reference, if your technique gets shattered, block it, even if you have to use your authority. Pardon? As I said, I reached this decisive technique to cut down the end, and right now you are the one causing the end. Therefore, I will cut down the end from you. But when your master tells you to do something, just do it. Sururung. The green light overflowing around Jang Ik begins to grow denser. If not, just die here. An ominous green light spills from Jang Ik's two eyes. I remain silent for a moment before nodding. We each assume our stances to collide with our most confident decisive techniques. I wanted to face him with the 36th move, but it would take too long to train to the point where I could face Jang Ik. It can't be helped. Killing. The green intent erupting from Jang Ik's body flares brightly. The colors of intent are diverse. For example, joy is gold. Anger is red. Sorrow is dark blue. Pleasure is purple, though for some it is said to be silver. Love is light pink. Hatred is dark red. Desire is colorless. These are the 7 fundamental colors of intent. Numerous intents branch from these basic colors, mixing, splitting, darkening, or lightening to form unique hues. Then, what does green intent symbolize? Green intent has the meaning of consolation, Chinese letter, and soul pacification, Chinese letter. From Jang Ik's intent flows the story of his life. It is the life of him who was once of a slave race. He was born 45,000 years ago during the chaos of the bright cold realm. In the midst of endless turmoil, Jang Ik discovered he has a talent for wielding the pado. As a member of a slave race, he was dragged around by his master as a clown performing with the pado. But one day, his master got caught up in the war of the bright cold realm and died. Jang Ik, in an attempt to protect the youngest member of the performance troupe and his fellow kin from one of the heaven tribe who sought to hunt them, picked up his pado. From that day forward, Jang Ik's talent began to shine. He slaughtered countless cultivators with his pado. Chi refining stage, chi building stage, core formation stage, nascent soul stage. Numerous cultivators fell under Jang Ik's pado like autumn leaves swept by the wind. However, Jang Ik always felt a sense of inadequacy. Have they died again today? His kin, his friends from the slave races. They were all slaughtered with ease, their stamina depleted quickly, they grew exhausted and died, or were eaten and killed. I will remember you all. Thus, Jang Ik remembers them. Though he cannot recall everything through a brute force method like the canvas of myriad forms and connections, he honors them through his fighting spirit. The brief moments in their lives that carried value. He manifests the intent of those moments with his fighting spirit. Jang Ik's pado technique becomes increasingly refined and beautiful. Because Jang Ik's dance is a dance created to honor the lives and hearts of the deceased, Jang Ik always honors and remembers those who have died. In this way, Jang Ik establishes his fighting spirit through comforting, honoring, and soul pacification. To honor the painful past of his kin. To ensure such tragedies never happen again, he pursues ultimate destruction within his requiem. Soul pacification is a vow. When facing those who have died in suffering, it is a promise to remain vigilant so such suffering will never happen again. That is soul pacification. Jang Ik seeks the meaning of that soul pacification through destruction. I tremble as I stare at the green light that contains Jang Ik's entire life. Dojo. This can't be blocked with my martial arts alone. Perhaps if I use accumulating dust forms a mountain, it might be possible. But accumulating dust forms a mountain relies on the power of the canvas of myriad forms and connections, and I cannot use that in this situation. That leaves only one option. To use my authority, just as Jang Ik instructed. Jang Ik raises his pado and swings it down. A simple, straightforward, yet overwhelmingly powerful technique. Downward strike. I have no confidence to block that technique. So, I will block it. Pang. Through the Sumeru sword dance, I borrow the power of the world and with Kunlun, I thrust forward. The first thrust is merely a probing attack. Kunlun clashes against Jang Ik's massive pado and rebounds. But since I can now thrust up to 3 consecutive times, I have 2 thrusts remaining. So I imbue the second thrust with my authority. Immortal art various omens, immortal art examination of doubts, immortal art 5 epochs, 3 spirits and 8 paths. I pour every immortal art I can currently use to reinforce this thrust. Jang Ik's pado collides with my single strike combined with immortal arts, slowing its descent and chipping away at its edge. But the pado still continues its descent towards me. I even realize that Jang Ik's pado is now emanating an even more overwhelming force. Intent, I see. I uncover the secret behind Jang Ik's immense power. I prepare my final thrust. This is the third thrust. If I falter here, I will suffer a fatal wound from Jang Ik. That cannot happen in this situation. In that case, I must add the most destructive spell I have to this thrust. Weighing. At the tip of my thrust, the Jade of Yin-Yang and 5 elements rises. It's been a while since I've used this. Immediately, my final thrust collides with Jang Ik's Pado. Flash. The world fills with green light. Splitting Emperor. Quiet. My thrust, combined with the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique, seems to pierce through Jang Ik's slash, shatters his Pado, and then pulverizes his body into a bloody mess. Xiukang. My body is also split in two in an instant, but I borrow the power of cedarwood painting to restore myself. Xia. Master. I look at Jang Ik with sorrowful eyes. I saw it. Through Jang Ik's strike, I glimpsed the starting point of the next realm he has attained. Isn't it sad? Jang Ik speaks as his entire body, turned into pulp, approaches death. First, let me treat you. You are dying. Don't, as you've seen. I am reaching the ultimate pinnacle of my fighting spirit. He sincerely warns me not to heal him, his gaze filled with murderous intent. Master, do not grieve. Among the Heart tribe who have died by your hand, was there anyone who regret being killed by you? There is none. I feel the same. There is no regret. Xia. From Jang Ik's body, pure white souls begin to drift out. Their number gradually increases, and Jang Ik's body begins to wither. But those are not real souls. Then what are they? Yes, they are artificial souls, similar to those of the Mad Lord. But unlike the Mad Lords, these artificial souls were created not through circuits, but through Jang Ik's own fighting spirit. The reason Jang Ik could unleash an even stronger, explosive power than before. It is because he remembers the intent of those he once fought alongside in life, making them into artificial souls and preserving them in his body. From those artificial souls, he drew upon the intent they had during life. And because he endlessly dances a requiem to honor for his comrades, the artificial souls accepted Jang Ik's heart and lent him their strength. It is a technique called heart field, Chinese letter. Jang Ik slowly explains about the artificial soul. It's something I created a long time ago, but I never really used it. However, I needed it to face you, so I brought it out today. It's extraordinary. It can't help but be extraordinary. It's a method where not just the Danshan, but an independent energy-generating organ is created in the plane of soul, and after embedding the intent of my former comrades into that organ, I drew upon their strength with a heart that honors them. Your canvas of myriad forms and connections can likely do something similar, perhaps even more efficiently than mine. You saw it too, didn't you? The starting point of the next realm that I discovered. Yes, I did. My face twists with bitterness. Jang Ik's single move undoubtedly contained the next realm. I had enough confidence to reach the next realm, but I deliberately chose not to. The heaven and earth tribes that slaughtered, devoured, and enslaved my kin. I didn't want to understand their heart and worldview. That's why. I only showed you the heart field just now as a demonstration. As Jang Ik approaches death, he slowly closes his eyes. But if it's you, you will surely be able to reach it. The same goes for Kim Young-hoon, that kid. Promise me one thing. Please tell me. You, one day, when you reach the ultimate of fighting spirit in your terms, martial pinnacle, if that time comes, when your strength has grown, strong enough, please create a world where the strong cannot so easily oppress the weak. With those words, Jang Ik closes his eyes. To use that technique, he had to cut away his pride and cut away his own life force, utilizing the reckless and demanding heart field. All for the sake of showing me that technique. I kneel before Jang Ik and bow 10 times. I may hold the status of sacred master, and Jang Ik may have been an intruder, but none of that matters. Because until the end, he was my master. Todd, the entering nirvana true persons, are constructing a star vein formation right before my eyes. It looks as though the star vein formation will be completed shortly. No, in truth, it seems that simply entering the activation command would cause the star vein formation to function, allowing the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords to descend. I already understand that there is no point in interfering. Even if I destroy this star vein formation, the attraction force between the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords and the Sun and Moon heavenly domain has already been established. Therefore, instead of recklessly charging in to destroy the formation and the 48 true persons, I calmly raised the all-heaven sword. The next realm Jang Ik revealed to me. The enlightenment of the third step before the throne. This is it. We yetting. The all-heaven sword gradually begins to shine brightly, dancing within the plane of soul. The condition to rise to the entering nirvana stage ultimately lies in controlling a plane. Whether it's the plane of fate or the plane of chi, it's the same. If so, the third step before the throne, capable of opposing the entering nirvana stage. Does this next realm require controlling the plane of soul? That is incorrect. The plane of soul is not a dimension, as is commonly thought. It is a far different concept. In fact, the flowers of the Sal tree, Heavenly Venerable's Eastern Heaven flower field align more closely with the concept of the plane of soul. The heart essence assigned to each individual. That is the plane of soul. In other words, the plane of soul is not a single vast world like the planes of chi or fate. Instead, every living being's heart in this world is individually referred to as a plane of soul. Thus, the heart tribe is entirely opposite to the heaven and earth tribes. The heart tribe completely controls the plane of soul assigned to them from the very beginning. Something the heaven and earth tribes need to enter the entering nirvana stage to accomplish, the heart tribe achieves as their very first step as a heart tribe. From there, the differentiation in realms simply depends on how one draws power from the plane of soul they control, and how one influences other planes of soul beyond their own. The pinnacle of controlling and wielding a single plane of soul is void shattering, or as it is also called, the second step before the throne, or mandala. What Jang Ik showed is, quite literally, the ultimate will he can demonstrate through his life and his heart essence. At the same time, Jang Ik created other, artificial souls within his body to significantly increase his output. Artificial souls are remarkably similar to the heart tribe's techniques, to the extent that they could even be classified as one, much like the Mad Lord's wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon. However, that is merely classification. The artificial souls Jang Ik showed are clearly more akin to the consciousness methods of the heaven and earth tribes. As the realms of cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes who train in the planes of chi and fate become higher, the more they can interfere with other planes to a certain extent. At the nascent soul stage, they can perceive other planes, and by the sacred vessel stage, as a sacred master, they can even extend their hand into planes other than their own. Now, at the entering nirvana stage, it feels as though even a heaven tribe cultivator who cultivates in the plane of fate can utilize the powers of the plane of chi at the star-shattering level. That's right. As cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes continue their immortal cultivation, they gain the ability to interfere with other planes. Then what about the heart tribe? The heart tribe does not attempt to understand any plane. Even a glance at how the manifestations of the heart tribe are all distinctly named reveals that they are a people with an incredibly strong sense of self in how they live. And Jang Ik's enlightenment taught me this. Well, look who it is. Is this not the madman who twisted providence and shook the sun and moon heavenly domain? The entering nirvana true persons begin mocking me. Perhaps they are speaking with such confidence because they believe in the northern dipper 7 heavenly lords they are about to summon. What brings you here? Are you perhaps here to serve us? Whether in a male or female form, serving one's seniors in any form is indeed a noble act. Ha, go ahead and undergo transformation. Or have you come here to settle old grudges with us? Why don't you go wild? You seem quite confident after delaying the end of the sun and moon heavenly domain. We will show you the heaven beyond heavens. I do not respond to their words, silently continuing to compress the all-heaven sword. The colorless glass sword imbued with the all-heaven sword as well continues to compress thinner and thinner along with it. Jang Ik's enlightenment is ultimately this. To reach the third step before the throne, in other words, the realm corresponding to the entering nirvana stage, it is necessary to understand other planes. In regards to the planes of chi and fate, it is crucial to control their chosen plane because one begins understanding other planes from the beginning. But on the other hand, for the plane of soul, because one controls their own plane first, it becomes difficult to reach the ultimate realm without understanding other planes. Heaven, earth, and heart eventually become similar as they approach the pinnacle. Wu Lung. It thins. My all-heaven sword thins further and further, becoming a sword capable of cutting through anything in the world. Hey, didn't I ask you as a senior? Are you preparing to use the phenomena extinguishing mantra? Why don't you try using it again? The true persons begin to direct killing intent at me. If I continue to remain silent, they seem ready to attack. But I have no interest in such things. Come to think of it, I was curious. If immortal arts change the world with the heart, just how does it differ from martial arts unfolded with the heart or the techniques of the heart tribe? Perhaps immortal arts and martial arts Chinese letter share the same origin. No, rather, they might need to complement each other to be completed. Because the three great ultimates itself is a circle completed by the union of three extremes. Qiyang, you truly dare to mock us this much. If you do not immediately kneel and beg while returning our junior sister Yo HWI. And finally, the all-heaven sword, compressed to the point of a single line, completely loses its balance and dissolves into the void. Packing, the colorless glass sword, which had been thinning alongside the all-heaven sword, snaps in the void. I look at this and let out a sigh of admiration. I see. The true persons glare at me and shout in rage. You truly dare to ignore us. I can feel countless immortal arts activating. The malice of the true persons begins to target me. But I pay no attention to them and swing the void held in my hand. In my hand, there is neither the all-heaven sword nor the colorless glass sword. However, in the next moment, the true persons scream in unison, and the immortal arts they were preparing simultaneously come to a halt. I firmly face the true persons and smile softly. At last I have attained it, the heart sword. Martial arts cannot be completed in isolation. Perfect martial arts cannot exist. Just as a person's dream is not completed by the dream alone, but by countless other events and dreams along the way. The ultimate of martial arts is the same. Yes. Third step before the throne. The condition to reach that place is through land, and will dual cultivation, or heart and heaven dual cultivation. And Jang Ik, unwilling to learn the techniques of the heaven and earth tribes that had oppressed him, had only hinted at it to me through a shallow consciousness method that he had learned solely for mourning purposes. Jang Ik must have realized this only recently. He must have reached the pinnacle of the second step before the throne, sought all kinds of methods, learned the earth tribe method, and only then realized that he must understand the hearts of the earth tribe to reach the third step before the throne. And then, he must have realized deep in his heart that it was impossible for him to forgive the heaven and earth tribes and set the nonsensical goal of challenging the end. Even so, I will carry on your will. I do not hate the heaven and earth tribes, but I can at least shoulder the will to protect the weak that Jang Ik carried on his shoulders. That must have been why Jang Ik entrusted me with such a request in his final moments. Weiying, I recall the name of my new realm. For the owner of Void, it is Udambara. For the golden monster, it is Dragon Flower. They both named their realms of martial arts with the meaning of life. Only now do I understand. Martial arts alone can never attain life. A sword by itself holds no meaning. Just as it needs something to cut and someone to wield it. Just as a flower needs bees, soil, the light of the sky, rain, clouds, and wind to bloom. Life in this world cannot exist in isolation. That is why those who named this realm combined heaven, earth, and heart, giving it names of living flowers and trees to naturally imbue the meaning of life. However, I decide to give this realm a slightly different name. The true persons see me lost in thought, urgently notice my skills, and begin summoning the Northern Dipper 7 heavenly lords, while I watch their summoning unfold. I watch their summoning ritual unfold. Scenes from my past flash before my eyes. Third rate. Second rate. First rate. Pika. This was the result of my struggle to escape the despair of my lack of martial talent and my martial incompetence. 3 flowers gather at the summit. 5 energies converge to the origin. Ultimate pinnacle. This was the result of my struggle to break free from the oppression of cultivators who saw me and ordinary humans as nothing more than pills. Entering heavens beyond the path. Treading heavens beyond the path. Shattering heavens beyond the path. This was the result of my struggle to escape not from cultivators, but from fate itself, and of my own inherent lack of talent from birth. Seated detachment entering hope. Void shattering. This was the result of my struggle not just to escape from fate, but to confront and accept it. It has been long. For a long and longer time I have fought against fate, against those who oppressed me, and against myself. I gaze into the cosmic space before me, the vast emptiness and the sky. Perhaps I have wanted to cut down this sky, to cut apart this world itself and become free. That is why I think of a name that symbolizes freedom. The first thing that comes to my mind is a passage from a literary work back on Earth. A bird breaks out of its egg. To the bird, the egg is the world. Those who wish to be born, they must all break the sky they have lived under. As I envision a life breaking free from the egg that is myself, I finally speak the name of the final realm. Severing heaven, Chinese letter. The all-heaven sword melts entirely into the void, blending with my cultivation. Cultivation, immortal art, attraction force, explosion. They all become one within this heart. At the same time, the completed three great ultimates finally rise again behind my head. This is the three great ultimates unleashed after reaching the entering nirvana stage. Simultaneously, only now do I realize that the immortal art of crystal glass to treading sea has at last been completed. From the beginning, it was never a heaven and earth dual cultivation method, but a method of the three great ultimates, and completing it required raising all three to the same realm. As I gaze at the crystal glass to treading sea fully melted into the void, I call the name of my immortal art. My immortal art, and the new name of the all-heaven sword. It is something that has already been passed down long ago. Like combing all intents turns them colorless. As I look at the pure white heaven and earth spiritual energy rising around me like salt, I look up at the seven summoned giant gods before me. Embrace all connections and become impermanence. Crystal glass to treading sea, Chinese letter. Ultimate intent, Chinese letter. Immortal art, Chinese letter. Impermanent sword, Chinese letter. Having attained the three great ultimates and obtained my own immortal art, I face the projections of the seven deities without retreating with a smile. Translator notes, the literary work is referencing the novel Demian, written by Hermann Hesse.